question time from the order paper. So like every other Friday, we usually have our honor the Vice President's question time, but that was not going to happen because His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema is going to be in the chamber 10 hours to address the nation.
So I'd like to urge you to be with us on Parliament television and just hear it for yourself. And after the address, there will be a motion that will be moved and business will be suspended to give ample time to members of Parliament just to go and study the speech, and thereby on Tuesday next week they'll be able to debate the address. And let's just interest our viewers in some of the things that they expect to watch and listen to today, Claudette.
Absolutely, we've been doing a number of things in the background in preparation for this very important day. Members of staff from our department actually took time to talk to people on the streets of Lusaka just to get their views regarding today's address, what they expect, and they did mention quite a number of issues that they expect the president to present. We also had an interesting interview present with a member of staff from the journals department who just shared with us the significance of this day. Of course, we also spoke to some non-government organizations regarding the expectations. Also, they did a review of last year's address by the president. So all that is coming up right here on Parliament television.
I'll be able to share with our viewers out there some of the excerpt from what the president talked about in last year's address, like I highlighted earlier on these values and principles. So just try to see and what else has been achieved and worked on regarding what the president talked about. And also we did engage civil society, and these are stakeholders in our economy, and they also play a big part in shaping our country, Claudette.
Absolutely, and so that's all we have from our end. So we would urge you to stay tuned right here as we await for the presidential address at 10 hours. Of course, we'll have the normal parliamentary proceedings before that. But just about now, we have some vox pops. We went into the streets of Lusaka just to get reactions from members of the public on the issues they think the president should touch on. Take a look.
Values and ethics that we have as a nation, we focus on patriotism and national unity. You find that women's participation in the developmental agenda is going to inspire inclusiveness for everyone to be involved. And as a lady, I'm very much aware to say a lot of females don't participate in these things. And the more we are going to participate in these things, the more we are going to understand that as a nation we will be united, just like our motto, One Zambia, One Nation. And that cannot be achieved if one side is being left aside and the other one is progressing. So I feel like my expectation is involving more women in these things, involving more youths like me in these things, because we have so many creative people out there who are willing to do a number of things that can help with the development of the nation.
My expectation over the president's address concerning the national values and principles is that from the student point of view on equity, I know the president is a man who respects the rule of law, and we expect at least to touch on the issues where from the student point of view in terms of when we are writing assignments where equality at least should be considered. We expect that the Republican president will talk about the social justice. So social justice, we are talking about the development, infrastructure development, and as even in Hon College we have received a number of infrastructure development, such as the facelift of this institution. It wasn't the way it was right now as we speak, but we have seen rehabilitation of infrastructure in various areas of this institution. So we also expect that this should continue, and this also should be addressed in other institutions that are surrounding us as well.
What I expect the president to talk about is that there should be a free and fair trial, and those who are found wanting in terms of corruption, they should be brought to book and they should receive a fair trial. And I expect that even those who are having position in government, they shouldn't take advantage of that, because if they are taking advantage of their position, that means they are not promoting good governance at the end of the day. And even the Zambia police, the way they conduct themselves in terms of their ethics and the way they handle everything, they should be based on the good governance of the country, because I expect the president to address those issues that are affecting the country in terms of the governance system and the integrity. I can talk about the Anti-Corruption Commission, because it's a cornerstone of integrity and good governance, and they should make sure that even those leaders who are in government, who are holding position, if they are found wanting, they should be brought to book, and they should receive the same treatment as other people are receiving in terms of when they are being investigated. And I want to hedge the president to also consider that even the investigation, if someone has been found wanting, that person should be suspended, so that at least they pave way for the investigations to be conducted in a manner, in a professional way.
Our expectation as a college is that the president should address the issue of non-discrimination and equality, especially from the angle of education, because we are now embarking on a journey of inclusive education as a college. And so for us to embark on this journey of inclusive education, we need all learners from diverse needs to receive or to have access to education. But also, as they have access to this education, they need to access it from the environment, because they are supposed to be present. And then they are supposed to participate, and they are supposed to achieve. So we'll be happy if the president looks at the issue of equality as well in education, so that everyone feels accepted, everyone feels accommodated, and they all feel that they are respected and valued in our classrooms.
So first things first, I'll have the president to make sure that if it's possible to make a unity where they would explain democracy to people in rural areas, especially, in local languages, to break it down that people understand it to its, simplest crisp. Yeah, and in terms of constitutionalism, the law is important, and we know that we are guided by the law. And it's important that people become adherent to the law. So despite putting in measures that would enhance sustainable development and help the youth out there, if people are not obedient to the law, then it becomes a challenge. So I would love the president to make sure that they explain the importance of adhering to the Zambian constitution and the positive effect it can have amongst the citizens.
My expectations from our president is that he should speak to the youth on the values. We seem like, as a country, we have lost it. The youths have adopted a certain way of doing things that does not speak to who we are as Zambians. So my expectation is that he would do a deliberate emphasis on the youths to go back to who we are as Africans.
There are a lot of expectations that we want to see from the president. I'll talk about morality and ethics. Yes. So under morality and ethics, we want to see the president taking these measures seriously when it comes to the policy of early marriages and also alcohol. Because believe you me, right now we're seeing people who are underage, someone who is below 18 going to the pub, going to clubs, and also someone who is maybe 13 years of age getting married. So we want the president to at least take measures or take these the policies so seriously on early marriages, because we want youths to focus on education. We appreciate the free education that he has put there, so we want him to take at least good measures or policies on the same when it comes to alcohol and early marriages.
I expect the president to talk about equality, equity, and non-discrimination, because nowadays it's common for people to discriminate others. For example, the albinos and people who are lame. It really affects them. So I want people to understand and know how, understand the impact they cause on people who are albinos or with any other disabilities.
So our expectation from the President's address is to encourage the members of the public that integrity is a two-way thing. It's not a one-way traffic. I've seen that sometimes there's so much of people saying when there is a problem to say no, Boma Yanganempo. But people have to be patriotic and also loyal to the nation. When there are problems, let's embrace them as our national problems. They're not problems just for a particular individual. That's what I can say.
Well, there you have it. That's Parliament grounds. There are some of the people trooping into National Assembly to attend the address that is expected by the Republican President, Ms. Hakainde Hichilema. So those are some of the expectations from various sectors of our country here. We did hear some people raising issues concerning morality and ethics. And on this one, they did talk about substance abuse. And Claudette, talking about substance abuse, in last year's address, the President did talk about that government has intensified the implementation of the national policy as a way of addressing alcohol and substance abuse. And government did take sensitization programs to the dangers of this vice in communities, places of work and institution of learning. And since his address last year, the other year, 523,973 citizens have been sensitized compared to 217,234 in 2021. So very, very great improvement from 523, from 217 in 2021 to 523 in 2023.
Absolutely, Paul. And I noticed also in the Vox Pop that there's somebody who talked about early marriages and teenage pregnancy, and talking about the presidential address last year, he did say that child marriage and teenage pregnancy are social ills which actually continue to be a source of concern to government. And so in this regard, the government has introduced free education among other interventions as a way of keeping children longer in school. So you find that children now are spending more time in school, unlike spending time idolizing or just being at home. So what happens when you're at home doing nothing? You engage in bad vices. So you're better off being in school, hence the free education policy that was introduced. And so the president also talked about having strong marriages and families. He did say that these are actually a foundation for a healthy and united society. He did say that the rate at which marriages are breaking in our country is worrisome, and so the president last year did urge the church, civil society and traditional leaders to intensify their efforts in ensuring that the institutions of marriage is always safeguarded.
Another pick from what we just shared with our viewers there was on patriotism and national unity. But before we talk about that, we'd like to urge your viewers out there, wherever you are watching us from on our Facebook page, let us know what your expectations are and be able to share your thoughts with our viewers out there. So feel free to like our Facebook page, the National Assembly of Zambia. Let us know where you're watching us from, and you'll be able to acknowledge you and read what you'll be sharing with us. And on patriotism and national unity, the President last year did talk about that. This is key in our quest to attain socio-economic development and national security. He did say that we need to develop a sense of pride, devotion and attachment to our country, including respect for our national symbols. Very, very important. The coat of arms, the national flag, the public seal, as well as the One Zambia, One Nation motto. These must always invoke a sense of pride, national identity and unity in all of us. Very, very important. We do see quite a number of people attending a public function, and when there's a national anthem, people just resort not to be part and parcel and sing the national anthem with pride, and also acknowledging some of the national symbols. Very, very important.
I'm going to pay attention to that when the proceedings start. I'm going to pay attention and hear if you're going to sing, the national anthem from the beginning to, to the end.
The only sad part will be your word against mine, because viewers won't be able to see. And
no, I'm going to be very truthful.
All right. So wherever you are, make sure that you follow us through on our Facebook page and let us know where you're watching us from. Any time from now, be able to see the Honorable Madam Speaker's procession making way to the chamber. That will signify the commencement of today's visit. But let's continue sharing with you some of the excerpts from last year's address.
Absolutely, and as we do that, we did have a chat with Mr. Ges Nyirenda, who is the director of the Operation Young Vote. That's the executive director, Mr. Ges Nyirenda. He also had his thoughts regarding today's address, and he also had a review of last year's presidential address. So let's have a look at this interview, and we'll be right back.
One thing that we would like to actually engage on, and the president should be able to speak to this issue, is the issue where, you know, there are also so many, you know, bars around in the communities, but also that these young people have continued to abuse these substances like Bostik and all these things that they do smoke, and then they tend to actually ensure that the people who are supposed to be free, their rights are infringed upon, and, you know, people are attacked and so on and so forth. And this for us is something that is quite concerning, and the president must be able to talk to this issue. But we know that yes, the president speaks to these issues, and when the president speaks, that's policy. And when the president pronounces policy, those that are his lieutenants, those that he has appointed, those that are working with government must ensure that they put things on the ground. They must be practical, they must be pragmatic. We don't expect that the president will come from his office and do something in the communities. We have people in the communities, we have the councils, we have those people who are elected, and we have you know, these people to help the president administer or ensure that the state, the country, is led diligently. And that must be done, especially by following these values and principles enshrined in our constitution. We must promote and promulgate the issue of a unitary state, and we mustn't at any point, you know, propagate tribalism, regionalism. All of us are one. If you are going to separate me, for example, I'm married to a Bemba lady, how are you going to deal with our children? Because our children are not Bemba, are not Easterners, but they are, you know, from both. So we are Zambian, and Zambia must ensure that we do what is right to ensure that we continue to sustain this unity that we've had. You know, our four leaders have, you know, did propagate this aspect of unitary state, but also unity and oneness and patriotism. We must, all of us, ensure that we put Zambia first, and no secession, no tribalism. No one wants to think that they are important than any other tribe. We are all important, we are all Zambians, and we must live as one for the betterment of this country and the betterment of us here, but also for the future generations. Because what are we going to call the future generations if we want to split ourselves? And how are we going to split ourselves? It's impossible. So those politicians that are propagating tribal remarks, those politicians that are propagating regionalism, I think they don't deserve to actually be leaders on this soil. Zambia is actually, you know, scoring so high on the democratic credentials, as it were. And I want to mention, first of all, if you look at what has happened over the period, the president did, you know, remove the, you know, that law that, you know, speaks to the issue of you know, if you are if you defame the president, then it's a criminal offense, and so. But that was done away with, which for us is actually enhancing democracy and people's engagement, people's participation, and so on and so forth. But also, Zambia did, you know, pass the access to information law. It's very important in a democratic society. And because we have done that, it really actually opens up the space for journalists, the space for citizens, the space for civil society, the space for everyone to be able to engage, because then people will access information, which information will actually help them make decisions and engage and participate in their lives as citizens. So it's very important that democratic tenets we continue to uphold them, and we have done so. But probably what we need to do to be able to enhance our democratic tenets is to be able to ensure that, look, the institutions, the state institutions like the police must be helped not to gag people. The police must be helped to help people to be able to be free, to be able to engage. Remember that our constitution espouses freedom of expression, freedom of association, and freedom of assembly. So if the constitution espouses these fundamental freedoms, I think the institutions of the state must be helped to ensure that they facilitate these particular freedoms to the people, so that our credentials can even surpass the American credentials in terms of democratic tenets, as it were. We pray that as the president speaks to the nation regarding the values and also the constitutionalism and the rule of law, the constitution must be actually on top of the agenda, to be able to see that we reform it, because there are certain things that are inimical to our democratic dispensation and credentials as a country. Remember, there's an article in the constitution, it's actually article 52(6), which speaks to the issue of a candidate can withdraw from an election at will, any time. But that article in itself, while it promotes freedom of expression, it is actually inimical to our democratic dispensation, because then the state tends to lose a lot of money. If the ECZ prints ballot papers, if the ECZ does nominations to anyone, then someone resigns in between, then the elections are recorded, the nominations are recorded. It means that we are losing resources as a country, and we cannot afford to lose any single resource as a country, because we need these resources for many other developmental issues. When we talk about equity and justice, I mean, the president must ensure that he pronounces himself in a way that is so clear, so much that as citizens we must rally behind him and be able to say, look, this is what we are talking about when we talk about equity. Each one of us must be equal before the law, must be treated equally in any sector, in any form, or anywhere. Each of us must, access justice, and justice delayed is actually justice denied. So even for the poor, the people who are considered to be poor and vulnerable, they must receive equal justice, just as the people who are rich and are not vulnerable. So this is a pillar that really speaks to the fundamental dignity of one's livelihood, especially for them to be Zambian. Zambians must be treated equally, and they must access justice in all forms and equity, and they have the dignity cannot be compromised. We are all human, and we must be treated with dignity, and the president must really announce himself so clear on this one, because then we need to rally behind what he pronounces. The president did pronounce himself very well in the last address with regards to how we can fight this alien of climate change. All of us are culprits, all countries are culprits in terms of having this climate change affect us in this manner. So what do we need to do after the pronouncement by the president in the last address, that we need to all be encouraged to plant trees? You know, it's not any funny anymore, because then a tree has a number of benefits to us. It stores water. You know, that's where now we get the oxygen and get the carbon dioxide and so on. And plants give life. We have a symbiotic relationship with plants as humans, or as you know, as people. So it means that we all need to take this very seriously. We need to plant trees. We need to, and those in authority. Yes, of course, authority, we don't mean just those in the ministry or those. We mean I have authority in my home because I'm a parent. So those with authority everywhere must ensure that they take control and charge of those that need to do what needs to be done.
The Operation Young Vote Executive Director, Mr. Gese Nyirenda, talking about some of the expectations that his organization is looking forward to the President presenting during his address today to Parliament. And talking about democracy and the Constitution, in last year's address, the President did talk about the freedom of speech, which he says that it is a critical aspect of democracy. To this effect, his government had removed from the statutes the provisions that criminalizes defamation of the President, and further strengthening the democracy. Considerable progress has been made to repeal and replace the Public Order Act. Stakeholders' consultations have since been completed, and a draft bill had been developed. So that's compared to what Mr. Nyirenda was talking about on the issue of democracy and constitutionalism. Last year the President did address some of the strides that his government has made regarding freedom of speech and also the abolishing of death penalty.
Right, and still on last year's presidential address on patriotism and national unity, the President did say that these are actually key in our quest to attain socio-economic development and national security, and so citizens need to develop a sense of pride, devotion and attachment to the country, including respect for our national symbols. And then he also said that government was actually glad to report that people have continued to exhibit patriotism through consumption of locally produced goods and services. It is gratifying to note the President did say that the private sector is taking up its rightful role by increasing the range and promoting quality of locally produced goods and services. And the President did say that since his last address, the number of companies registered to use the proudly Zambian campaign logo has actually increased to 69 from 47 in 2021. I'm sure, Paulson, you do agree with me that now when we go to these chain stores, we find, locally, produced, foods, vegetables, for instance. Unlike what used to happen in the past, we would actually have imported stuff when we can actually grow these, products.
Well, we used to have quite a number of foreign products occupying our shelves in our chain stores, and nowadays when you go to a mall or to a chain store, your children or your family members, they will insist that you get a locally produced product. We've seen quite a number of honey, peanut butter, different brands.
The dried fruits, the dried mangoes.
I love mangoes and I have bananas as well when they're dried. So these are the things that the President talked about, and in the end, creating employment to the local Zambian, and also improving our economy, and also to ensure equitable access to social services. The President last year did talk about the government making progress in increasing access to electricity, water supply and sanitation across the country, especially in rural areas, and government has allocated 750 million towards rural electrification program for 2023. In addition, government has set aside 156 million from the CDF to expedite rural electrification. And I did visit Maheva refugee camp not too long ago, and what we found there was a sad story. This is a big, huge resettlement, one of the biggest resettlements in Zambia, and the whole area is not electrified. So not too long ago, a few months ago, we heard in the news that people on the ground now electrifying the resettlement, and which really excited the local people in Maheba refugee camp. We do have quite a number of people doing business, others are rearing chickens, and it was quite difficult for them to sustain their business. Earlier on, we talked about people that are following us on our social media platform. We do have Dennis Chisenga. You are watching us from Sesheke. Also have Edmo Muyunda watching from Sanfia. We have Mwanza B watching us from Chama District, and Kelvin Kunda watching us from Kitwe, Hwacha Township. So keep acknowledging we'll keep acknowledging you if you keep liking our Facebook page and let us know where you're watching us from. And you can also share with us your expectations in today's address.
Absolutely. Still talking about patriotism, the president last year did say that our country has diverse ethnic groupings. And he did say that since independence, Zambia has promoted an inclusive society through the national motto that one Zambia, one nation. This has been and should remain the firm foundation which the nation is anchored on. So the president did say that the nation does not and will never condone tribalism. It is progressive and denies people equal opportunities to reach their full potential. It also denies the nation the opportunity to optimize available human capital. This is an issue that has been talked about for many years, but at the end of the day, we remain one people. I know you come from the east, I come from the south.
I come from Muchinga, Claudette.
Not from the east.
I'm from Muyombe.
He comes from the east. I come from the south. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you come from. We all one people.
Definitely, we are one people. And if you remember well, and maybe some of our viewers have just joined us, we did play a clip where we interacted with our viewers out there and people, general public, and just trying to find out from them their expectation regarding the president. One of the person there talked about youth participation, and I just want to take back our viewers what the president talked about regarding youth empowerment. The president did talk about his administration caring about the welfare and personal development of the youth. To this effect, the government was implementing a number of empowerment programs, including market booster loans, youth skills training program, and grants for income generating activities. And we've seen quite a number, the Minister of Youth Sport going around the country giving loans to these young people. And we've heard members of parliament asking questions on the floor of the House, seeking from the minister how far it has gone and how much money has been given to a certain district in the country regarding the youth empowerment. And also, in order to foster good governance and integrity, the president did say that his government has intensified the fight against corruption, maladministration in service delivery, and financial crimes. He did say that they have accredited the pace for digital transformation and decentralization. They've also continued to strengthen the policy and legal environment as well as governance institutions.
All right, still in the same vein, government has taken measures to improve efficiency and effectiveness in the implementation of the Constituency Development Fund. To this effect, the approval of CDF project has been decentralized to the provincial administration, and guidelines on procurement have also been streamlined. Paulson, you and I have been out there and seen a number of projects that have been done by members of the public regarding CDF.
Very, people calling it a game changer, and we've seen a number of people benefiting from the CDF. And in last year's budget, when the president's address, when he was officially opening Parliament in September, we did hear increasing the amount to more than 30 million, which really excited quite a number of people. We've seen schools, we've seen desks being procured, we've seen health facilities being built because of the CDF. And Claudette, allow me to acknowledge Isaac M.M. Muyabata Jr. Him is sharing with us, saying that expecting His Excellency to address the issue of climate change in today's address on progress made on national values and principles. Thank you so much, Isaac M.M. Muyabata. We really appreciate your input. So you can also do the same by sending us on our Facebook page, the National Assembly of Zambia. Let's hear what your expectations are.
Absolutely. So still on CDF, the president actually last year did say that government had issued Zambia Public Procurement Authority ZPPA Circular number 1 of 2023. The circular places all CDA procurement under reservation schemes in line with the ZPPA Act number 20 of 2020, and this therefore entails that citizens who reside in respective constituencies will be given priority and preference in the procurement of all CDF projects. So that was just what the President had to say in last year's address. Remember, we're standing by for resumption of business at 09 hours. In a few minutes from now, we will be seeing the Speaker's procession actually making its way to the chamber, and that will actually signify business for today. The big one is the presidential address on the progress made in the application of national values and principles.
So those are live pictures. That's the chamber here. Members of Parliament are just interacting, and outside we have the National Assembly Choir just singing outside the foyer there, and had a number of expectations from various stakeholders across the country. Let's shift our attention and look at business that was conducted on the floor of the House. But remember, we'll continue interesting you to excerpt of what the President talked about in last year's address. And business yesterday did begin by Madam Speaker informing the House that the Royal Hospital would hold a free cardiology health camp for members of Parliament and staff, aimed at promoting heart health through prevention, early detection and treatment to achieve better health outcomes.
And so Madam Speaker stated that the camp would be held from Monday 18th to Friday 22nd March 2024 as follows. That's Monday to Thursday from 09 hours to 16 hours, and on Friday from 09 hours to 13 hours. So in that regard, Madam Speaker informed the House that the health camp would be held at the main reception area at Parliament main buildings.
And after that announcement, the House did proceed to consider matters of urgent public importance, and three matters of urgent public importance under Standing Order 134 were raised. And the first one came from Mr. C. Miyutu on the alleged downgrading of University of Zambia degrees, and this was inadmissible.
And the other one did come from Mr. Daka on the ineffective distribution of relief food in Chadiza parliamentary constituency, and this matter of urgent public importance was inadmissible.
The other one, the last one, this was the third one, came from Reverend Jikatuta, and this one was on a police officer who was beaten by a civilian at a bar in Kitwe District, and the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security responded, which means this was admissible.
Thereafter, Her Honor, the Vice President did move a motion that Standing Orders 26, 27, 51 and 80 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021 be suspended to enable the House to sit from 09 hours until business has been concluded on Friday, 15th March 2024, and also to omit the Vice President's question time from the order paper.
After that consideration of that motion, the House did proceed to consider the ministerial statement, and Madam Speaker did permit the Minister of Energy to make a ministerial statement on the electricity situation in the country, and he did brief the House on the measures being taken to mitigate the impact of the power supply deficit following reduced water levels in the country's major reservoirs.
After that ministerial statement, the House considered questions for oral answer numbers 305 to 307 and 309 to 311, understanding order number 74.
Question for oral answer number 308, understanding order 74, the member being absent, the question lapsed, and the House adjourned at 24 hours. And today, Madam Speaker is expected to take the chair at 09 hours. But remember, it is a big day, and this is a day where the Republican President is expected to give an update on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. So anytime from now, we'll be able to see the Honourable Madam Speaker's procession making way to the chamber.
Absolutely. So there you have it. That's the Speaker's procession being led by the Sergeant at Arms. Just now, we cross over to the floor of the House for live parliamentary proceedings. Keep watching Parliament Television and pleasant viewing.
Honorable members of parliament, Madam Speaker.
And the king of Zambia, proud and free, land of faith and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for our right. We want freedom side, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, passion with and blessed by those to them. Let us all our people join as one, brothers under the sun, oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, green and we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and a faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Order, honorable members. I have one announcement to make. Honorable members, I wish to inform the House that on Thursday, 23rd May 2024, the National Assembly of Zambia will mark 100 years of existence. As you may be aware, the first legislature, the Legislative Council, was established and had its first meeting on 23rd May 1924. To celebrate the centenary, the National Assembly of Zambia will carry out a series of activities between the months of March and June 2024. Further, One of the activities that will be undertaken in the course of the centenary celebration is a marathon, which will attract various stakeholders, including the general public. Registration details will be made available in due course. Members of Parliament, members of the diplomatic corps, all distinguished guests present here, and the nation at large are encouraged to participate in this marathon. Details on how to register for the National Assembly Marathon will be provided in the press, the National Assembly website, the Facebook page, Parliament television and radio, and as well as other media houses. I thank you. May Her Honor the Vice President indicate when the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, arrives to address the House.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, will arrive at 09:45 hours to address the House. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. I suspend business until the President arrives. Honorable members are requested to remain in their seats.
Well, thank you so much for still being with us. Parliament television business has been suspended until the time the Republican President will arrive at Parliament grounds and to address Parliament. So, Madam Speaker, just leaving the chamber to go and wait for the Republican President at the foyer.
Absolutely, and as earlier stated, we do expect the President to be at Parliament grounds at 09:45 hours. And so everybody has been asked to remain in their seats as we await for the arrival of the President. Of course, Madam Speaker will be joined by service chiefs at the foyer to receive the President. And as Parliament television will be on hand to show you those pictures as they unfold right here.
Uncle, just going by the announcement that Madam Speaker just made, looking at Parliament clocking 100 years, looking forward to some of the activities. I'm looking forward to the marathon as well and other activities that the National Assembly will put in place to commemorate this very important. And looking at the milestones National Assembly has scored from the time it started as a legislative council up to date, and very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely, and as the broadcasting department, we do have a number of activities that we've lined up and that will, produce and air on, Parliament television. So I would urge our viewers, our ardent viewers actually, to stay tuned and just look out for the productions that will be airing on Parliament television regarding 100 years of the National Assembly of Zambia.
So at 09:45 hours, the Republican President will be here at Parliament to update the nation on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. So wherever you are, I'd like to urge you to be with us, and we'll keep interesting you to some of the pieces that we've collected, just to find views from various stakeholders on what the expectations are. And later on, after the address, Claudette will be able to interact with members of Parliament and other stakeholders just to get a quick reaction regarding what the President will have talked about in his address. Remember, earlier on we did talk about the values and principles which are enshrined in Article 8 of the Constitution of Zambia, and these are morality and ethics. We also have patriotism and national unity, the democracy and constitutionalism, human dignity, equity, social justice, equality and non-discrimination, good governance and integrity, and indeed the sixth one is sustainable development. So those are the pillars that the President will be addressing.
Absolutely. So we now move on to our next insert. where we did have a chat with Mr. Charles Hambote. He's actually the Director, Rules and Procedural Matters here at the National Assembly of Zambia. So he just, talks about the significance of the presidential address. So we'll be right back after this.
Hello and welcome to our special program. Today we have an important event on our parliamentary calendar as the President will be addressing the House and the nation on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. My name is Taza Piri and I'm joined by Mr. Charles Hambote, who is the Director, Rules and Procedural Matters here at the National Assembly of Zambia. Mr. Hambote will provide us with more insights about this significant event. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Taza, and it's always a pleasure to appear on Parliament TV.
Okay, let's get started. Kindly explain to our viewers what this address by the President is all about.
Well, like you have said in the introductory remarks, this address aims at discussing issues of the national values and principles of the Republic. Now, these national values and principles are enshrined in our Constitution. And so they cover issues to do with ethics and morality, issues to do with democracy and constitutionalism, issues to do with national development, and issues to do with human dignity and all those kinds of things. So in broad terms, these are issues that deal with the various governance principles that the country has agreed to abide with.
Okay, and when you talk about this address, how is it different from the ceremonial opening of the House?
Right, so this address aims at giving a progress report by the President on what achievements the government has made over the past 1 year in terms of achieving these national values and principles. So it will not be a speech that will go out of the national principles that have been enshrined by the Constitution, the national values and principles, but it will confine itself within those national values and principles. Now, when you look at the ceremonial speech, the ceremonial speech signifies the start of a session of Parliament. In other words, it signifies the start of a new calendar year for Parliament. So every calendar year of Parliament starts with the President coming to officially open it. So there are broad issues that the President discusses during the ceremonial opening, where the country is going to, what achievements have been made at different kinds of levels, whereas this particular one is confined to just progress that has been made in the attainment of the various principles and values that have been enshrined in our Constitution.
Okay, and kindly explain to us what are some of the key pillars on which this address anchors on?
Well, like I've said already, these deal with issues of ethics and morality. So the President will be expected to speak about what is the morality generally in the country, what progress have we made in terms of achieving the morality and ethics of the country that we have set out in our Constitution, issues of democracy and constitutionalism. Are we moving forward in terms of making our democracy more vibrant? In terms of constitutional developments, where are we at? How have we moved towards becoming more of a constitutional nation? Are we having any constitutional amendments? Where are we at? Issues of human development, where are we at in terms of uplifting the livelihoods of people? Have we made any progress on those issues? Issues of human dignity again. So it's those pillars that the President is coming to talk about, and he will confine his speech, like I've said, on those various pillars that are contained in our Constitution.
And after the address, what typically happens after the President has given the update on the progress.
Indeed, the President will give his address. After his address, obviously today the House will adjourn. Next week and the other week, for the next 2 weeks until the House adjourns, there will be debate on the President's speech. So the House will be expected to debate on what they have received from the President's address. So there will be various members who will be allowed to debate what they think the President said, what they think the President missed in his speech, or how they have seen the speech to be of value in their opinion. So we'll have that 2 weeks of that debate going on until that motion is adopted. So to start the debate, there will be a motion of thanks to the President's speech, and that is expected to start next week on Tuesday, and it will run up to the 28th when the House is expected to adjourn.
Okay, thank you very much. And what would be your last words to our viewers and listeners out there?
Indeed, very important. The last words that I want to give to our viewers and listeners out there is that please take keen interest in following the proceedings as the President gives a progress report on our national values and principles. These are things that guide our daily lives, and so it's important that we follow what our ethics are, what our codes of morality is, what the President will line up as issues that he hopes that the nation will be guided by. It will be interesting for you to follow, and also take in interest in the debates that will follow afterwards, which will be broadcast live, of course, on Parliament TV. You will only learn about what is going on in the nation if you follow Parliament television. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles Hambote, for providing us with such valuable insights into the significance of the President's address. And would like to say thank you to our viewers and listeners for having tuned in. And we hope our viewers and listeners out there found today's discussion very informative. Stay tuned for more updates and keep watching and listening to Parliament Television and Radio. Thank you.
There you have it. That was Mr. Charles Hambote. He's the Director, Rules and Procedure Matters here at the National Assembly of Zambia, just giving us an insight regarding the presidential address. The President is going to be here to give us progress that the government has made in the application of national values and principles. So it is actually enshrined in the Zambian Constitution that the President will come once in every year to Parliament to report on the progress made in the application of national values and principles.
Very, very insightful interview that we heard here, the difference between the ceremonial opening of Parliament and also what will follow next after the President has addressed Parliament, where somebody did talk about members of Parliament moving a motion of thanks, where members of Parliament will be able to debate the motion for 2 weeks before the motion is adopted. Keep reminding you, those of you that are following us on our National Assembly of Zambia Facebook page, like that page and spread the news. Let the people know that they can watch live proceedings of today's address via our Facebook page. And we do have Emmanuel Hakera, who's saying is watching you from Livingstone, waiting for the President. Also have Mike Monga, you are watching from Chavuma, was the Magoe constituency. Somebody saying, I can't wait to watch the presidential address by the Republican President, and this one is coming from Fraser Chilavi. And Lungawe Nofuku, you are watching us from Kalabo. John D. Banda, you are within Lusaka. So let us know where you're watching us from, and you can also post in your message or expectation from the President's address. Claudette, the country is just recovering from the cholera outbreak, and we heard the good news when the President visited the Hero Stadium, which was the cholera center, and we lost quite a number of lives due to cholera, and people that volunteered to work without pay were offered employment, and we expect the President also to talk about how ravaging the cholera has been to our country. And also we saw some health workers being employed. You have it on your screens there. That's the Honorable Madam Speaker taking her walk to the foyer to receive the Republican president, which means that any time from now the Republican president will be arriving at Parliament grounds, and he'll proceed to the Speaker's chamber where he's expected to sign in the visitor's book, and later on will be led by the Sergeant at Arms together with the service chiefs to the chamber to address Parliament and the nation.
Right, these are live pictures are coming your way here on Parliament Television. In case you've just joined us, you haven't missed much. Business has been suspended. Madam Vice President did make an announcement to say that the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, will arrive at Parliament buildings at 9:45. That's the time that we expect him to give the address. And of course, after that, business was suspended, still be suspended, and Madam Speaker did ask members of Parliament to actually remain in their seat until the arrival of His Excellency the President. And so, as you can see, members of Parliament are sharing presently right here in the chamber. We do have another insert that we have lined up for you. That's Madam Speaker making her way to the foyer. She's going to be accompanied by service chiefs, and they will be receiving His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema in a few minutes from now. So I was saying, among the inserts that we have, we did speak to SACOD Acting Director, Mr. Arthur Myunda, who just shares his views with us regarding the presidential address on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. Just now we have that clip, and we'll be right back.
Our national values and principles are enshrined in our constitution, and it is very, very important for the president and the government to update the nation time after time, like annually, as it has been. Last year, the key issues were around the levels of abuse of alcohol by young people, the levels of the increase in the number of junkies, and the levels of criminality that we see around the compounds. However, we, as a country, we have not seen so much that the government have done in terms of trying to curb the so-called junkies. I think we have seen junkies starting now coming up even in other districts where we were not expecting to be having junkies. It is becoming like a talk of every town that there are junkies in Zambia. So we expect the president to, as he addresses the country when it comes to the issue of junkies, to put practical measures through which the government is going to try and curb this mushrooming issue of junkies. How is the government, what preparation has the government through the police or the Ministry of Social Welfare put in place to address this challenge of junkies? What are some of the measures that they have? Is there some sort of research that has been conducted to find out why is it that the young people now are turning into junkies? What is the problem? I think the president should be able to address to such issues when it comes to junkies. When it comes to the levels of abuse of alcohol, we have seen that there is possibility of the government being able to manage the consumption of alcohol by young people. Because when there was, in the past when there was a cholera outbreak, there was COVID outbreak, the government was able to manage. And I think there is a lot to do with the values at family level that are instilled in our young people, and the president should instill, as the biggest parent of the country, should instill those values to the nation so that we are able to curb these. We still expect the president to do that, because those are some of the issues which, if not addressed, have the potential, for example, to try and bring some sort of conflict in the country. Junkies have been seen as a source of conflict because they have attacked so many people and so on and so forth. So if you look at the principles and values that we have, they speak to the morality and ethics of the country. What is it? What are some of the moralities? What is the expected morality of a Zambian? It is very difficult, to be honest, to define morals of an individual. But I think that we should live according to our guidelines. Zambia is rich in terms of cultural diversity. How much are we sustaining the culture that comes from our different backgrounds for it to define the kind of expected morality? What are some of our ethics? We have seen some change or shift in the ethics of the country, especially when it comes to the way our own politicians are defining, are trying to sway the thinking of a Zambian. So how are we going to do our politics going forward? What guidance is the president going to give to the nation when it comes to how we have to engage in politics without compromising on our morals and our ethics? Then that should be married to patriotism. As we do our politics, as we do whatever we do, it should be able to promote our patriotism. We should show patriotism as citizens, as a country, but the president should steer that, should show leadership in terms of patriotism and also national unity. If we steer, or if we promote patriotism among our citizens, we expect that we will achieve other principles and other values such as democracy and constitutionalism.
Well, there you have it. That's Mr. Anthony Muyunda, who is SACOD Acting Director, talking about the organization's expectation regarding today's address. And also he did talk about the junkies, and these are young people that have grouped in communities and attacking innocent people at night, and the police trying by all means to arrest the situation. But we've seen an increase in numbers of these groups in various places in Lusaka and some parts of the Copper Belt. So we expect the president also to talk about that aspect as well. And Claudette, earlier on I was talking about the strides that government has made in terms of employing health workers, those volunteers that were helping out during the cholera epidemic at Hero Stadium. And this really excited a number of people, and according to the news that we got this week, about more than 130 people have been given their offer letters of employment out of the 800 plus that government has received in terms of names of people that are supposed to be employed. And this was a directive by the president when he visited Hero Stadium, just to go and look at the situation, and he did see the passion that these volunteers made towards curbing or arresting the cholera situation, where they are helping health workers that are employed in our country. And on the issue of CDF, Claudette, you did talk about the CDF and how CDF has really impacted in our communities, in our constituencies. You and I, we do visit constituencies just to showcase how CDF is working. And we've seen desks being employed. We've heard the members of parliament officiating at graduation, where people in various communities have been trained in skills training. And last year, according to the president, did say that government recruited teachers across the country, with almost them deployed to rural areas in order to address low staffing levels. So today again, I'm sure ears and eyes will be glued to the television set just to hear what pronouncements or what success stories that the country has recorded in this regard.
Absolutely, and so we are waiting for the arrival of President Hakainde Hichilema. Earlier on, Her Honor, the Vice President, did indicate that the President is expected to address the nation at about 09:45 hours. So like you saw a few seconds ago outside, you know, what is happening right now is that the Speaker of the National Assembly, Madam Nelly Muti, State Council, is actually accompanied by service chiefs and they are yet to receive President Hichilema in a few minutes from now. And thereafter, as per tradition, we do expect the President to go straight to the Speaker's chamber so he can sign in the visitors book. He's no ordinary visitor because he hardly comes here at Parliament. He only comes at Parliament twice in a year, during the official opening, that's the ceremonial opening of Parliament, and during this moment when he comes to address the House on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. So we'll be able to show you those pictures live as the President arrives and goes to the Speaker's chambers, and thereafter he's going to walk into the chamber to address the nation on the progress made in the application of national values and principles.
Let's revert to the clips of, or should I say, except of what the President talked about in last year's address. The President did talk about reduce the inequalities and improve the learning environment in schools. The government is providing desks across the country, and local communities through the CDF have prioritized the procurement of desks to meet the shortfall in schools. And the New Dawn administration has also enhanced the school feeding programs for children coming from vulnerable households. I know if you are in urban areas like Lusaka, Copperbelt, Livingstone, Eastern Province, part of the urban areas, you may not appreciate the feeding programs. Claudette, people may not appreciate it because it's something that when you're leaving home, you have a meal, your parents or your guardians or whoever is looking after you have packed something for lunch. But in rural areas where there is real poverty, people do attend classes and they are being fed just to support families that are coming from vulnerable households. And that's the reason why government had increased funding allocation to such programs, so at least we can have quite a number of people coming from vulnerable homes to access education.
Looking at good governance and integrity, the President last year did say that this actually the government has actually intensified the fight against corruption, maladministration in service delivery and financial crimes. He did say that to strengthen the fight against corruption, the government has reorganized the leadership and management of investigative wings and also increased resources to support their operations.
And also government is determined to have a dignified workforce in this regard. The President in last year's address did talk about increasing labor inspections and intensifying them. These inspections are aimed at enhancing the protection of workers' rights and improving the work environment for increased productivity. And we've seen the Minister of Labour and Social Security going across the country, just having impromptu visits to various companies. These companies owned by local people and also foreign nationals, just to make sure that the labor laws are adhered to. We have seen in the news where workers have been exposed to conditions that are inhumane, and this has really saddened the Minister of Labour together with the Zambian government. So in last year's address, the President did talk about intensifying these inspections to make sure that these contribute to increase productivity in the country.
And so earlier on we did have a clip where we spoke to a number of people here in Lusaka regarding their expectations about the presidential address, and they did highlight, a myriad of issues that they expect the president to talk about. And just in case you missed out, as we wait for the arrival of the president, we'll go back to that clip and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Live pictures are coming your way on Parliament television. That's the presidential, motorcade, and it's a sure indication that the president is in the precincts of Parliament building. And so in a few minutes or seconds from now, we'll see him emerge from his vehicle and the Speaker of the National Assembly and service chiefs are actually by the foyer awaiting to receive President Hakainde Hichilema.
So just to highlight some of the names of the service chiefs that are with the Honorable Madam Speaker, State Council outside there, we do have the Zambia Air Force Commander, and this is General Oscar Nyoni. We also have Mr. G.S. Musamba, who is Inspector General Zambia Police. We have Lieutenant General Dennis Luwizwi, who is Zambia Army Commander, Lieutenant General M. Solochi, Commander Zambia National Service, and indeed Mr. F.S.S. Chelukutu, who is Commissioner General Zambia Correctional Service. There you have it. That's the presidential motorcade arriving at Parliament grounds, and in a moment time the President will emerge from the presidential motorcade and will be received by the National Assembly. That's the Right Honorable Madam Speaker, together with the service chiefs.
All right, so earlier on we did speak to Mr. Hambote, who just told us the significance of this day, and he differentiated, you know, he gave a difference between this occasion and the ceremonial opening, which people usually, you know, confuse with. So this time around, as you can see, there's no pomp and splendor like the ceremonial opening. It's just straightforward. He's going to meet the Speaker and the service chiefs, go to the Speaker's chambers, and come here to address the nation. Unlike the pomp and splendor that is usually experienced during the ceremonial opening of Parliament.
There you have it, Claudette. That's the Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, arriving at Parliament grounds, and he's been received by the Right Honorable Madam Speaker, and they will be heading to the Speaker's chamber, where he's expected to sign in the visitors' book, and they'll have a bit of a chit-chat here and there, and later on they'll be led by the Sergeant at Arms in the Speaker in the chamber to address Parliament and the nation. And after the address, like we mentioned earlier on, a motion will be moved and to suspend business, and on Tuesday members of Parliament will be given an opportunity to debate the presidential address for 2 weeks before the motion is adopted.
Absolutely. So our national values and principles, as enshrined in Article 8 of the Constitution, include morality and ethics, patriotism and national unity, democracy and constitutionalism, human dignity, equity, social justice, equality and non-discrimination, good governance and integrity, and lastly, sustainable development. So we do expect the President to give the nation, you know, the progress that has been made regarding, you know, these values and principles that I've just outlined.
There you have it. That's the Republican President making his way to the Speaker's chamber, led by the Sergeant at Arms, and we've seen security all over Parliament buildings, making sure that everything is in place. After he has signed the visitors' book, he will be heading to the chamber to address the nation, and members of Parliament are very expectant. They will be paying attention to listen to the detail of the address, or at least they can debate the address on Tuesday when Parliament will be sitting.
So talking about, you know, you were talking about post and the security, making sure that everything is in place. I must also mention that what you are seeing has actually been rehearsed. Yesterday and the other day, members of staff here were rehearsing exactly how it was going to be done. And that's how come you see that things are done systematically each time the President is actually at the National Assembly of Zambia buildings. And so those are the pictures that you're seeing as the President is now going to be going to the Speaker's chamber, and thereafter is going to make his way into the chamber to address the nation on the progress that has been made in the application of national values and principles. So yesterday, one of the Vice President actually did move a motion that Standing Orders 26, 27, 51 and 80 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, be suspended to enable the House to sit from 09 hours until business has been concluded on Friday, 15th March 2024, and also to omit the Vice President's question time from the order paper. So in case you've just joined us and you're wondering what is happening, today is a special day on the National Assembly of Zambia calendar, as we have the Republican President address the nation. He's actually already arrived here at Parliament buildings.
As we speak, he is in the Speaker's chamber, where he's expected to sign the visitor's book. And earlier on, Claudette, you did talk about the interaction that we had with various stakeholders, and one that you highlighted was the general public, just to get their views on what the expectations are regarding today's address. And it's also very important to acknowledge people that are with us on our Facebook page. We do have Isap Wakumelo following us from Western Province, Senanga District. We also have Kapia Lui Megesaidi from Kalumbila in Northwestern Province. Gift Sialukoa GM watching us from Lusaka, and you are sending your regards to the President. And we have Crispin Mupakide watching us from UK, and he is saying first-hand information is very important, and we are following you, Parliament Television. Sekeleti Michelle watching us from Chawama right here in Lusaka. Solwezi is also registering its presence here through Samuel, that's through Israel Siari, and Samuel Makoli watching from Chavuma. Thank you so much for being with us on our social media platform. That's the National Assembly of Zambia.
Absolutely. So would age our Facebook, viewers, our, Parliament television viewers, and of course to mention that this is actually live on Parliament Radio as well. So would urge you to stay tuned, because in a few minutes from now, the President of the Republic of Zambia will be in the chamber to address the House on the progress that has been made in the application of national values and principles. According to the Constitution, the President shall in every year report to the National Assembly the progress made in the application of national values and principles. So that's exactly what is going to be happening today. We highlighted these values and principles, and these are morality and ethics, patriotism and national unity, democracy and constitutionalism, human dignity, equity, social justice, equality and non-discrimination, good governance and integrity, and sustainable development. So we expect the President to update us regarding the progress that has been made on these values and principles.
Yes, and Claudette, just to talk about good governance and integrity, in last year's address, the President did talk about strengthening the fight against corruption, where he said his government has organized the leadership and management of investigative wings, and also increased resources to support their organizations. And in his fight against corruption, he did say that there shall be no sacred cows, therefore urged every Zambian to uphold integrity and denounce any form of corrupt practice. He did say that the citizens deserve efficient and effective service from public institutions, and he further said that it was for this reason that he had dedicated this year to get rid of all forms of rigidities that stand in the way of progress in service delivery. So I'd like to hear from the President regarding good governance integrity, the progress that the country has made based on the pronouncements that he made in last year's address. And one other key issue that the President talked about was the money laundering and terrorism financing, which he said are emerging crimes that present a risk to the nation's security and development efforts. He said that it is in this regard that government had developed the National Anti-Money Laundering and Countering Terrorism and Proliferation Financing Policy to curb those crimes.
And the President also talked about, decentralization being a good thing. He did say that it takes decision-making and service closer to the people and improves accountability and transparency in the management of public affairs. So the government decentralized the human resource management system in the public service to the provincial and district levels. He did say that in 2022, the decentralized systems contributed to the efficient and transparent recruitment of more than 40,000 public service employees. We did see, quite a number of nurses and teachers, being employed. And a while ago, you were talking about the volunteers that worked at the cholera center at the stadium here in Lusaka, also being, employed.
Currently, Claudette, looking at what the president declared as a disaster, looking at the dry spells that the country has experienced, we've seen sad pictures of maize and crops just dying because of the dry spells that the country has experienced. And the other thing that has really affected the country is the issue to do with load shedding because of water in our reservoirs going low, and this will have a negative impact on deforestation. And if you remember last year, the president did talk about not having or turn a blind eye to the effects of deforestation on the climate and people's livelihoods. Now, with the increased hours of load shedding, which has started in March, we expect a lot of damage to be done to our environment because people want to survive. And so we'd like to hear from the president what to talk about regarding deforestation in our country due to deforestation. And he did talk about in this year government planning to plant in excess of 2 million trees over the next 5 years across the country. And our speaker is a champion of tree planting. We've heard her, we've seen her being all over, just emphasizing and encouraging members to plant trees.
Absolutely, she's calling it the tree planting challenge. 2 weeks ago, a fortnight ago, she was actually planting trees at her residence, and she was accompanied by some, members of parliament who have also encouraged their constituents to, plant a tree or trees, to avert, the situation that we are going through regarding climate change. So there you have it. The president has just, written something, signed in the visitor's book, and any time from now we should be seeing him, because I'm sure he's done with that, segment, and any time from now we do expect him to walk through to the chamber to address the nation.
Yeah, so those were just pictures of the president signing in the visitor's book, and just by tradition posing for a photo with the Right Honorable Madam Speaker there. After they are done, they'll proceed to the chamber to address Parliament and the nation. Let's get back to what was talked about in the previous address that the president made, the update on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. Did talk about local communities being gatekeepers of our natural resources. Earlier on, I was talking about, Claudette and I were talking about Madam Speaker being the champion of tree planting across the country, and we've seen her whenever she visits constituents' offices, she has made it a must that trees must be planted at constituents' offices across the country. And not too long ago, we did see Zafico partnering with the National Assembly of Zambia, where they donated quite a number of trees and being distributed to members of parliament to plant in all corners of this country, so which is very key if the country was to fight the effect of climate change.
All right, in case you've just tuned in, we would urge you to stay tuned right here, because in a few minutes from now, the president will be addressing the nation on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. He's already here at Parliament. There you have it. That's the president, accompanied by Madam Speaker, and they're being led by the Sergeant at Arms as they're about to make their way into the chamber. This actually means that the address will be taking place in a few minutes from now.
I'd like to urge you to be with us because after the address we'll be able to interact with various stakeholders just to get their quick reaction. Our colleagues will be downstairs just to interact with members of parliament and various stakeholders that are here to witness the presidential address and just get their quick reaction. So we'll be able to cross over to the floor of the House for the commencement of the address. Claudette and I will be on hand to have a recap of what will have been said by the president. So keep watching Parliament television as the president enters the chamber.
Parliament, His Excellency the President and Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, good morning. Article 9(2) of our Constitution requires the President to report to this august House the progress made in the application of our national values and principles. We are therefore pleased to join you today, Madam Speaker, on this important occasion to address the House and the nation at large on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. Madam Speaker, the national values and principles are important in molding the character of our nation. They influence our conduct as individuals and as society. They also guide the development and implementation of state policies. Our Constitution under Article 8 prescribes the national values and principles as morality and ethics, patriotism and national unity, democracy, constitutionalism, human dignity, equity, social justice, equality and non-discrimination, good governance and integrity, and indeed sustainable development. Morality and ethics. Madam Speaker, morality and ethics are cherished virtues in our society. Government is, however, concerned with incidences of social vices such as early marriages, teenage pregnancy, alcohol and other substance abuse, and indeed gender-based violence in our country. These are issues of concern to us and I believe, Madam Speaker, to this House and the nation at large. Madam Speaker, to address early marriage or early child marriage and teenage pregnancy, working with the church, traditional leaders, and indeed other partners, government, your government, in 2023 conducted sensitization programs countrywide. To this end, 192 chiefdoms and over 2.5 million people were sensitized on the dangers of early child marriage and teenage pregnancy. Further, Madam Speaker, your government trained 106,277 community leaders and 1,441 community welfare assistance committees across the country. We want to continuously strengthen community action towards ending early child marriages and teenager pregnancy. It's a destructive vice. We must fight it together, without exception. Madam Speaker, alcohol and substance abuse continues to be a major concern in our country. It negatively impacts families and national productivity at large. The abuse of alcohol and substances among our young people, and I must say, elderly people as well. Really, this is worrying. And we are now seeing an increase in the emergence of younger people, criminal gangs, commonly referred to as junkies. This is worrisome and a security concern. This has been building up for years. We all know that. But time has come that we all work together to curb it forthwith. To stem alcohol and substance abuse, your government, Madam Speaker, sensitized, as I said, 211 chiefs, 700 religious leaders on the dangers of alcohol and substance abuse. We desire to strengthen the role of our traditional leaders, the role of our religious leaders, and other community leaders as change agents in their communities. I have said this, Madam Speaker, before, that effectiveness in what we do lies in community involvement. And this is not an exception, as are other things that we wish to do. Further, government continued to conduct public awareness programs in schools, workplaces, and communities nationwide. These interventions are important in our efforts to combat alcohol and substance abuse, Madam Speaker. In addition, government launched the National Policy on Drug and Substance Control last month, just last month. The policy provides a comprehensive framework for reducing the supply of and demand for illicit drugs and substances. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence undermines the health, dignity, and self-esteem of victims. It is disheartening to note that the number of reported cases of gender-based violence increased to 42,965 in 2023 from 33,536 in 2022. These acts of violence have in some cases, as we all know in this House, resulted in loss of lives. Very unfortunate. Madam Speaker, in our quest to stop gender-based violence, we have continued to conduct countrywide public awareness and sensitization campaigns. Further, government provided counseling and legal support. I must repeat, government provided counseling and legal support to 7,819 victims of gender-based violence. And I wish to emphasize the following message, Madam Speaker. This number comprised of 5,056 females, but it also included 2,763 males. So the understanding, the perception that gender violence is tilted towards one sex is no longer true, because even men are victims of gender-based violence. And this we must address. Not because men are involved now, but because any sex that is affected, it is a citizen. It's a human being, and they must be protected. Madam Speaker, we call on victims, therefore, to keep reporting cases of gender-based violence to relevant authorities, including community leaders. As you know, there is stigma around this issue, and victims must be encouraged and assisted to report these cases when they take place. We commend all our stakeholders who have joined hands with government in the fight against gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, government is concerned with the high number of divorce cases in our country, particularly amongst young couples. It is unacceptable that divorce cases have continued to rise over a period of time. If you look at statistics in the last 10 years, the divorce rate is going up, and the graphs are very clear. And I think we need to address this issue. It is unacceptable that this trend would be allowed to continue. With 36,000 cases recorded in our courts of law in 2023 and 31,000 in 2022, Madam Speaker, we all know that there will be some cases that are not even ending up in court. So the numbers are bigger than this. Hence, the importance of us addressing these issues. We need to build strong marriages where couples and families are capable of resolving differences amicably. Marriages where couples are capable of raising children into responsible citizens. These responsible citizens anchored on, in our view, strong family and religious values. We therefore urge the families, the church, traditional leaders, society, civil society, and community organizations to enhance marriage counseling and teachings around this subject of a strong marriage, strong family, strong society. We also urge couples to abide by the strong commitment of marriage and live in love, Madam Speaker. Where love reigns, it does overcome many challenges. And we would like to see this in our communities, in our families. Peace and harmony are essential at the family level, and the family is anchored around marriages. A few differences, Madam Speaker, among couples should not lead to separation, but rather reconciliation through civilized dialogue. Respectful, civilized dialogue should be the result of a difference in a marriage, not separation. Madam Speaker, social media and the internet have become an integral part of our lives today, like it or not. While we acknowledge this positive impact of social media and internet on our communication, business, education, and social interactions, we are alive to the increasing trends of abuse of these social media platforms daily on all members of society, male, female, children, most unfortunately. To reduce the abuse of these platforms and ensure a safe and secure environment, government is implementing the revised National Information and Communication Technology Policy. We are working on this. The policy, among others, would enhance data privacy and protection, as well as information security awareness. Government has also strengthened the enforcement of various laws to protect citizens against cyber crimes. We therefore encourage all citizens to conduct their personal and public affairs with high levels of morality and ethics in order to build confidence in our families and communities that these platforms are for good use, not for damaging applications. Patriotism and national unity. Madam Speaker, our country is founded on the virtues of patriotism and national unity. These play a significant role in promoting our national identity and ensuring political stability in order to contribute to economic and social development. I wish to repeat that. This is important. To ensure political stability is important in order to contribute towards economic and social development. Madam Speaker, to enhance patriotism among our citizens, we have continued to promote local ownership of property. It is important that citizens feel that they can own property. It doses in them a sense of responsibility, a sense of accountability when they are in a position to own property, to own business ventures, while encouraging equitable partnerships with other investors within the country, region, Africa, and the global community. This is what we expect in many areas. I want to be specific about this. In the mining sector, for example, we have given and sensitized artisanal and small-scale mining license holders against selling, quick sale of their licenses. They queued to get licenses, they complained, This government responded, giving them the majority of licenses. What we see every day, Madam Speaker, is that they are busy now looking for buyers and selling licenses for cheap. So what was the purpose of pushing for these licenses? Quick money for consumption, for socialization. This is not how we build a country. Madam Speaker, we want to encourage these holders of licenses to think today, tomorrow, and longer term, to think of their children, to look for partners. They keep their investment, longer term investment, not to be traders in everything. Licenses are not local bands in the market. These are supposed to be investment instruments, Madam Speaker, that will improve generational wealth amongst our families. We expect to do the same in the energy space, Madam Speaker, in the generation, transmission, distribution, retail of energy. In the processing space, value addition space, in the trade, in all sectors of our economy. Plus, we want to heighten, we will heighten the sense of patriotism which will filter through, should filter through our daily transactions with each other and with others in this global community. Madam Speaker, as government, we are duty-bound to promote the production and consumption of local products and services. It is gratifying, I must say, Madam Speaker, to note that our citizens are now and increasingly consuming locally produced products. Thank you for that. But it's also evident that the quality of local products is on the upward trend. And that is important as well. And we would like to see a continued improvement in the quality of locally produced products for competitiveness, but also to give satisfaction to consumers, local as they may be. In addition, we have witnessed an increase in local products, which is a consequence of what we're saying in terms of quality, on the shelves of various chain stores. I tell no story, but just 2 years ago we were struggling to get chain stores to stock on their shelves local products. And we had to engage some of these directly, but now it's becoming a norm. This is lovely. We appreciate this. Madam Speaker, we have equally recorded an increase in the number of companies that are using the proudly Zambian campaign logo, 206 in 2023 from a mere 69 in 2022. Numbers don't lie. In line with the proudly Zambian campaign, public schools are now procuring locally manufactured desks, Madam Speaker. 2.5 years ago, it was viewed as a story that was not possible to realize. Today, it's a norm. This is great, Madam Speaker, and that's the way it should be. More importantly, these desks are produced by our own children. We train in the artisanal skills under the enhanced CDF. Our own children. I have seen them myself. I've gone around the country. This must give us a sense of pride. This House must have a sense of pride in such decisions and the resultant positive effects. Further, Madam Speaker, the ministries of health, and I'm emphatic about this because there was some resistance, but the ministries of health, defense, education, home affairs, and internal security are now equally expected to procure locally manufactured uniforms going forward. More jobs, more business opportunities for our people. Madam Speaker, these are values embedded in us. They should be embedded in us. Madam Speaker, the increased production and consumption of local products is not only a key factor to economic development, but demonstrates growing levels of patriotism among our citizens. It means more jobs, as I said, and business opportunities for our people. It means economic growth. It means resilience in our economy. Madam Speaker, we reiterate our call to our local companies to trade amongst themselves, consciously, to trade amongst themselves in order to grow our national balance sheet. This only grows through increased intra-economic transactions. And so, the government will put measures, but even you who run businesses, please make this as a living thing as you make decisions in your boardrooms, in your family business meetings. Please do so. It delivers a lot of value. To reinforce this behavior, Madam Speaker, we're enhancing the practice of positive discrimination in the procurement space. No shame at all. Government, central, local, quasi-government institutions will be required, and we shall follow through and enforce to see that they are buying from local firms as much as possible. This is important. This will grow our economy, and mutual benefits will flow automatically. Very important. To continue, we want to continue appealing to our citizens to think local in their consumption choices, now and in future. Madam Speaker, as patriotic citizens and businesses, we are duty-bound to honor all our tax obligations. All our tax obligations. To this effect, government has made progress in increasing awareness among citizens on the importance of paying tax. Government, however, will continue to regularly report to citizens on how their tax revenues are utilized. We appreciate the work of the Minister of Finance in that scope, regular reporting, because citizens need to know what's happening with their money. The introduction of online and mobile platforms by service providers has made it convenient and will continue to do so for our people and businesses to meet their tax obligations. We therefore urge our citizens to continue paying tax, as I said, and alert authorities of individuals and companies who are deviant, those that are not paying tax. When we know them, let's whisper to somebody, including those who evade taxes purely, just walk away from tax obligations. And we work hard to lower the tax burden. When we lower the tax burden, we expect compliance to go up. It's the way it works. We urge our citizens to always demand receipts for every purchase as part of their patriotic duty to promote tax compliance. Madam Speaker, another area where we need to exercise a deep sense of patriotism is in safeguarding public and private property in our country. These assets are built at a huge cost to the Treasury, to the taxpayer, to the citizen, and are a significant component of our collective wealth in this nation. Sadly, the country has continued to witness the loss of public property through vandalism and theft. It's a daily issue. It is regrettable that ZESCO installations, water supply and sanitation infrastructure, and school property, for that matter, in some of our communities have increasingly become targets of vandalism and theft. Not good, not acceptable. These acts of vandalism and reckless burning of bushes, for example, and theft, I must say, are retrogressive to our development efforts. They must be stopped and punished within our legal provisions. And no one should complain victimization when such is done, because it's not acceptable. Safeguarding our public assets should also extend to how we utilize them. It is disheartening to note that some people still view water drainages and road traffic islands along the roads as dumping grounds for garbage. Shamelessly, people dump garbage in these spaces. Garbage belongs elsewhere, not here. This is not only irresponsible, but also takes away from our rights to live and operate in clean and and dignified environments. The recent cholera outbreak, Madam Speaker, is a clear example of our citizens operating in unsustainable environmental situations. We cannot and we will not continue losing valued lives with this kind of reckless living. It is the duty of every one of us, the local authorities, businesses, citizens alike, to keep our country clean and to make it a place we should take more pride to live in. It's a duty of all of us. Local authorities should apply the available pieces of legislation to address the unsanitary conditions in our communities. They don't have to wait. The laws are there, including bylaws, to effect what we're saying here. Madam Speaker, to enhance national unity, the United Party for National Development, UPND, New Dawn administration has ensured that the recruitment of public service workers, such as who? Teachers, health workers, defense and security personnel, is based on merit. Further, the recruitments have been transparently undertaken for the first time in a long time. At all districts across the country, without segregation. The numbers are there again. Numbers don't lie. Anyone can access these numbers. To ensure equal opportunities for all our citizens is the reason this is happening. Consciously, we know some members of the ruling party complain, and our answer is very simple. We were elected into government to look after 20 million Zambians. All of them, from all the 10 provinces, 116 districts, from 156 constituencies, all of them without exception. I would like to hear, Madam Speaker, one who says, in my district there has been nobody employed. I'm looking for one. Just one, not two. Madam Speaker, to promote an all-inclusive society, our administration has continued to distribute national resources equally. I didn't say equitably, but I wish to say so as well. And we will move to equity soon. But our agenda was to ensure there is equality first. Then we can move to equity, because it's important to show, to demonstrate the intent of your government. This is evident in the implementation of the Enhanced Constituent Development Fund. Same tab, 156 constituencies. But we know some constituencies are more people, some constituencies are bigger by geography, by land, we know. But we had to start with an equitas, not equitas, an equal perception. And then we can move to equity later on. Because if we didn't do it, Mr. Speaker, there could have been other arguments now going on in our country. So we will address those issues at the right time. This is, Madam Speaker, evident also in the way the CDF is being distributed from the central pool in terms of disbursement across the country. It's not just the allocation, but the release of these funds. For the first time, it does not matter which constituency, which party the MP comes from, the councillor comes from. The resources are going. And that's intentional. It's not by chance, it's intentional. We also are clear, Madam Speaker, on social protection, farmer input support. Even there, we brought equality away from what was happening just a few years ago. Now, all provinces, all districts, all constituencies receive equal amounts. Quantum, based on the farming communities in there. Very important. Very important. And there are several other programs of this nature which are being implemented transparently and fairly across the country. Madam Speaker, we will continue on this positive trajectory and take development to each and every part of our country. Each and every part of our country, in order to promote national unity for the benefit of all Zambians. 20 million of them. 20 million of them. And when we breed more, those will be taken account of. Democracy and constitutionalism. Madam Speaker, we are committed to deepening our democracy and constitutionalism as the surest way through which our people can be assured of their freedoms and right to participate in decision making. Again, statistics are there for everybody to see. The ratings are there for everybody to see. We don't have to say it ourselves. In this regard, we are delighted and honored that Zambia has been named among the top 3 most democratizing countries in the world. Madam Speaker, this has been done by an independent, credible organization called VDEM. This recognition underscores our government's continuous efforts to promote the virtues of democracy, good governance, and the rule of law. Madam Speaker, in order to broaden the ever-expanding democratic space which this government has created and also increase the access to information, we have made it possible for 44 new radio stations and 18 new television stations to be licensed countrywide in the last 2.5 years. Numbers are there. These facilities can operate and should and will operate freely and without any interference whatsoever from government. More significantly, political parties, all political parties, and I watch their programs, Madam Speaker, every night, and civil society organizations are now able to make full use of these facilities to advance their agenda. And hopefully, the people's agenda. No issue at all. No threats of closures. Not necessary. Further, to provide access to the ZNBC signal for Radio 1 and 2, 15 new FM transmitters have been installed in some rural districts of Eastern Province, Northern, Western, Southern, Luapula, and Muchinga provinces, Madam Speaker. Again, numbers don't lie. Madam Speaker, to enhance the participation of eligible voters in elections, we have undertaken, again for the first time, although the law was there before, continuous voter registration. It's now operational. A program which is in line with the Electoral Process Act. As I said, the law was there, but it was not implemented for whatever reason. That doesn't matter. It's now operational. The program now covers all the 10 provincial centers of our country. Lovely country, Zambia. Madam Speaker, to strengthen the legal and institutional frameworks for upholding the rule of law, government has enacted the Judicial Training Institute of Zambia Act number 14 of 2023. This House has enacted that act. As you know, this House is part of government. All of us in this House are members of the government. So, which this establishes the Judicial Training Institute. Commendable indeed. Thank you to this House. The Institute will facilitate continuous professional development for our judges, judicial officers, and other staff. Human dignity, equity, social justice, equality, and non-discrimination. Madam Speaker, government has the responsibility to uphold the dignity of all our citizens, as well as their right to social justice and equal treatment all over the country. Our development efforts are therefore centered on uplifting the livelihoods of all our people in our country. In this regard, provision of clean water and adequate sanitation, quality education, quality health care, access to electricity, social protection, youth empowerment, as well as provision of maternal health facilities, Madam Speaker, are key priority areas for this government in the whole country. Madam Speaker, through our flagship intervention under the Enhanced Constituent Development Fund, which I mentioned earlier, we now see equity, equality, I'm bringing in equity now, equality and social justice being restored. Many more of our children now have opportunity to learn in a dignified environment, with several classroom blocks, as we talk now, being constructed, several desks being supplied to schools. As we sit here and speak, this is happening across the country. And we want to urge all members of parliament, councillors, council chairpersons, mayors, on this score to work together, irrespective of political party, just to deliver for the people of Zambia. That's our request, Madam Speaker. I think it's fair. I think it's logical. I did mention about procurement of desks locally. It's a pride for some of us who go around, and I know you all do, to see our young girls making desks, having graduated from our artisanal schools. Sense of success in one is body, if you like, complete. Further, some of our youth who were condemned to poverty, to roaming around, now, as I said, have access to skills development in order to improve their livelihoods. More young people have benefited from skills development bursaries in the constituencies across the country, while the vulnerable secondary school learners who couldn't afford to attend boarding schools are now happily attending boarding schools. And for the first time, Madam Speaker, in the history of our country, these bursaries are decided at the constituency level, not in Lusaka, at the constituency level. And the resource envelope is available right there. Tremendous, Madam Speaker. It's tremendous. Madam Speaker, going forward, we will continue to use the CDF to promote community-driven local development. We will continue to provide bursaries to our youth. We will do more. We will do more in this area, Madam Speaker. We are not turning back. Every year we will increase this allocation for our youth, because we know this is the best investment, not to the child only, but to the family, to the community, and I dare say to the economy in terms of skills. Madam Speaker, in order to support the kids after such training, your government has provided empowerment grants and loans as well as a package. In order to spread benefits to others, Madam Speaker, I mean some benefit today, but in order to spread benefits to others, all those citizens who get grants should not be wasteful. They must utilize effectively these grants and facilities. Those who get loans should be able to repay these loans when they are due. Then we can recycle the money. Others can benefit. Very important. Madam Speaker, the culture of not paying loans back is something we should not support in this country. It damages credibility, risk profiling, it damages the lender's balance sheets. Doesn't matter whether it's public or private lender. We must deliberately encourage each other to pay back loans and our children when they access them. Even grants, as I said, a grant is not to be wasted. A grant is to be utilized properly for them to grow so they don't have to queue for another grant after a year or so. Very important. Madam Speaker, government has continued with provision of water and supply, as I said, sanitation services to ensure that outbreaks of waterborne diseases such as cholera and typhoid in our communities are a thing of the past. Madam Speaker, I am low in morale. We should be low in morale when we see lives that could be maintained are lost because of things associated with our own conduct. Not good. We've made progress, Madam Speaker, in ensuring that our people have access to electricity as well, through the rural electrification program, and more will continue being brought on board, including mini-grids, including enhancing solar. I believe, Madam Speaker, this House and members of this House heard our pronouncement in Chipata just a few days ago to pull down duties and taxes associated with energy provision and irrigation farming. And it will happen in this year's realignment of the budget. Madam Speaker, the government is determined to improve the quality of education, and we are focused on addressing the teacher-pupil ratio as well as the learning infrastructure and overall environment. Big and loaded. In this regard, 7,221 teachers were recruited in 2023 in the 2023 teacher recruitment exercise. And more classroom blocks, as I said earlier on, are being built. We therefore urge all our newly recruited teachers, this is extremely important, all our newly recruited teachers should serve communities where they are posted and not just go and register there and then walk back to towns. When such happens, I think we must take the jobs away and give to others who want to serve the communities. This we need to work together, because MPs know which teacher is not there at the location where they were posted. Let's work together. Similarly, Madam Speaker, we call on all our community to assist the newly recruited teachers and other public service workers to settle in these, for them, young people, strange environments. We can assist them to settle in. I think we shouldn't see them fail. We should help them succeed by setting them in, including business opportunities, to build houses to rent to these. Because in their salaries, I do believe there's some component of that facility. So let's take this as an opportunity, all of us, especially rural members of parliament. Build 1 or 2 houses around the school so teachers or nurses can rent. Very important. Madam Speaker, government has continued to implement the school feeding program, now called the Homegrown School Meals Program. The rebranding of the program is meant to promote its sustainability through the use of nutritious local foods while supporting local farmers. To this effect, over 2.2 million vulnerable learners from 82 selected districts across the country are being supported under the Homegrown School Meals Program. We call upon local businesses, churches, NGOs, civil society to join government by adopting schools for homegrown schools meals. Madam Speaker, in our continued efforts to promote inclusive development, 3,300 vulnerable youth across the country have been provided with grants under the National Youth Scheme. Our youth are also being empowered with motorbikes. Yes, with motorbikes on loan basis. I talked about loans earlier. These are all initiatives aimed at enabling them to venture into income-generating activities, so they don't queue for handouts. So we kill the habit of queuing for handouts because it's destructive to our people. We are also offering our youth skills training in various fields. I said it already. Graduates from these youth resource centers are doing a tremendous job. Tremendous job. Tremendous job. And it is our duty, and the government has continued to assist them with startup kits such as sewing machines, toolboxes, welding machines, catering equipment. This is practical. This is to a community of our population which was ignored. At our time, if you qualified to university, you got a bursary automatically. But the colleagues that didn't go to university were left on their own. Now this government is attending to them, and attending to them seriously. Madam Speaker, in our continued efforts to enhance timely access to justice, 5 local courts were constructed and 8 rehabilitated across the country, while legal aid offices were established in 5 additional districts across the country. Government has also established legal aid desks in police stations, right in the police stations, and correctional facilities to allow accused persons access to legal services at a point of need. Some of us know what that means. Additionally, legal services units have been established in various districts of the country to provide community outreach services, legal services. The number of citizens who received legal aid services in 2023 was 31,556 across the country. Madam Speaker, to further promote equity and human dignity, the New Dawn UPND government administration has continued to implement various social protection programs. These include social cash transfer, shock responsible social protection, shock such as drought, emergency cash transfer, and the food security pack. The shock response social protection program aims to cushion the beneficiaries of the social cash transfer from the negative effects of climate change, as I said, especially the current drought. In addition, we continue to provide vulnerable but viable households with farming inputs under the Food Security Pack program. We would like feedback, Madam Speaker, from the members of Parliament, so we can better what we're doing for the people. Madam Speaker, overcrowding in correctional facilities remains a source of concern to government. The current inmate population in the country is over 25,000 against the holding capacity of 10,650. To address overcrowding in correctional facilities, Madam Speaker, government is expanding open-air correctional centers across the country. The open-air correctional facilities, for example, in Dansanga, in Mwembeshi, and Momboshi, 2 different places, Mwembeshi and Momboshi, have been expanded, creating an additional holding capacity to accommodate over 3,000 inmates. Madam Speaker, government is also promoting the imposition of non-custodial sentences for minor offenses and the continued granting of police bond to decongest police cells and bail on flexible conditions, not asking for sureties who are civil servants, as it used to be. You don't need a surety who is a civil servant now, because civil servants will be scared of being sureties. So this is now liberal, and all bailable offenses, and I insist. Some people seated in this room know I talk to them regularly, that when a matter is bondable, give bond. A matter is bailable, give bail. There's no issue about that. No issue about that. Good governance and integrity. Madam Speaker, we are committed to and will continue maintaining law and order in our country, as this is important for social order and economic development. We therefore thank our citizens across the country for maintaining peace this far. We particularly thank our citizens in areas where we have had by-elections since the August 2021 elections. For the peaceful atmosphere exhibited so far. It was gratifying, Madam Speaker, to see members of opposing political parties freely mingling. Madam Speaker, it was gratifying to see members of opposing political parties freely mingling during their campaigns, including in Shuangandu of Muchinga province, which was a volatile area just a few years ago. But I was very happy to see members campaigning from all political parties and laughing, joking. Then they go and campaign to the voters. That's how it should be. There's more political space now than ever before. Madam Speaker, may we also take this opportunity to thank our women and youth across the country for turning out in huge numbers to commemorate their days, Women's Day and Youth Day. And all political parties who wish to participate were there. What a joy. That's how the country should be. And we should not allow to regress. We should not go back to the dark days. We must improve. We can do more, but we should do more together in this direction. It's the correct direction. Madam Speaker, we remain firmly committed to upholding the tenets of good governance and integrity. Our resolve is underscored by the measures we've instituted in the fight against corruption and maladministration. Madam Speaker, we are making progress in our fight against corruption. To strengthen collaboration and efficiency among law enforcement agencies, government established the Asset Recovery Inter-Agency Coordination Framework in 2023. Through this framework, millions of kwacha, I must say, Madam Speaker, millions of kwacha, maybe some members of our community, our country do not know, but millions of kwacha in movable, non-movable assets, including cash, have been recovered. Maybe we are not doing well in reporting. We should report transparent and open and more frequent. Government has also strengthened the legal framework on the management of forfeited assets through the issuance of statutory instrument number 13 of 2023. Madam Speaker, we share the concerns and frustrations by our people over the delayed disposal of cases related to corruption and financial and economic crimes. To address this concern, government has issued statutory instrument number 10 of 2024 to provide for speedy disposal of such cases. Justice delayed, justice denied. In this fight against corruption, we are encouraged by the fact that our people and other stakeholders are beginning to acknowledge the impact of these efforts. This is evident in the improved score and ranking on the recent Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. Again, independent body. We have nothing to do with that body, but their results are open. We will surely continue with our efforts for more tangible and lasting results. And Madam Speaker, these changes are good for the accused. These changes are good for society, for the prosecutors as well, because we need to discharge these cases quickly but fairly. I want to repeat, Madam Speaker, what I've said several times. No one should be arrested before an investigation is done. If the investigation is not done, leave people alone and continue with your investigation. And when you have the evidence, you arrest, then bond. 10 hours you arrest, 14 hours bond. Madam Speaker, if the matter is not bondable, 10 hours you arrest, 14:30 you are in court, and bail must be granted. I said that already. This is not a joke. This is serious. And then prosecute quickly. And we get on with our lives. Thank you. Madam Speaker, to improve access to public services for our people, government has continued implementing the Digital Transformation Initiative. The Digital Transformation Initiative has minimized face-to-face interaction with service providers. This has reduced the risk of corruption in the delivery of public services. So far, 300 public services are being accessed on the ZAM portal, also referred to as the Government Service Bus. Using the ZAM portal, for instance, the Ministry of Lands has now started issuing title deeds. To be specific, 39,691 title deeds, certificates of title, have been issued through this platform. Big change. There are glitches. The effort is to continue to clean up the glitches. Madam Speaker, we've also accelerated digital transformation to enhance service delivery. Decentralization, which for a long time, Madam Speaker, decentralization for a long time remained a mere rhetoric, but is now reality. It's now reality. We are pleased to report that through the decentralization process, some public services with matching resources have been taken closer to the citizens. These include district health services, veterinary services, as well as maritime and pontoon services. Our people are now able to participate in decisions that affect their welfare from within their communities, not in Lusaka only. Lusaka is not Zambia. Zambia is not Lusaka. We are all aware that this government has increased the Constituency Development Fund, as I say, from a paltry 1.6 million per constituency per year to 30.6 million. It's here. It's here. It's real. Let's work hard to utilize this money to benefit those who put us in office across the country. Across the country. To improve the rate of utilization of these funds, we have decentralized the approval of projects from the Ministry of Local Government in Lusaka and Rural Development to provincial administration centers. We urge all members of parliament, you the members of parliament, to work closely with local authorities to ensure timely implementation of projects for the benefit of our people in our country. Madam Speaker, to promote transparency and accountability in the management of public affairs, we enacted the Access to Information Act number 24 of 2023. As you know, this has been sitting around this house for over 20 years. No one had the courage to enact it. This government has done it. This government has done it. The UPND New Dawn administration has walked the talk on this one. We are delivering on our promises. Access to information in our country is now law. It's not just a discussion point. It is now law. And we must utilize it. Sustainable development. Madam Speaker, we have a duty to utilize our resources and manage the environment in a sustainable manner. We all have an obligation to work towards addressing challenges of pollution, Madam Speaker, climate change, and over-exploitation of natural resources. Madam Speaker, as government, your government, we are committed to collaborating with all stakeholders, including political parties, members of parliament, councillors, chairmen, mayors, all of our community, church, traditional. We are committed to working together in our quest to combat the effects of climate change. The current drought is one clear example which we must fight together and win. Of course, irrigation farming, increased productivity, of course, water harvest, approvals for water permits, WAMA, ZEMA, project approvals cannot be business as usual. These must fall in line, like yesterday, to help us fight this drought. Madam Speaker, to turn this drought from a calamity into an opportunity to change our country forever, to anchor it on irrigation farming, for certainty, for higher productivity. We can't do this alone, Madam Speaker. We need to do it together to ensure food security, energy security. Two double tragedies: energy security or insecurity, food insecurity, obviously constitute national insecurity. But we shall overcome as we work together in this space. Our efforts, Madam Speaker, to plant 2 million trees by 2028 have gained momentum. Thus far, 645,000 trees have been planted on 538 hectares of land. We need to double, triple, quad our efforts to plant more trees to save the earth for ourselves and our future generations. With these adverse climatic conditions being faced, we call on all our citizens to desist from the habit of destroying nature, grass, trees. Topography, overall, gullies, bad farming habits, following gullies. We need to save human lives, livestock, our crops. When I say livestock, I mean domesticated, Madam Speaker, and those in the wild. It's part of our assets. We call on you members of parliament. We call on traditional leaders, churches and other stakeholders to join government in sensitizing communities on these negative vices. We wish to commend the private sector for supplementing government's efforts by putting in place similar initiatives aimed at combating the effects of climate change. Madam Speaker, carbon trading is a cardinal issue. Carbon trading is cardinal. It's a cardinal issue. And in addressing the effects of climate change, as it promotes conservation of forests and forest resources across the globe, carbon trading, carbon market becomes extremely essential. Forests and trees are vital in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Government will work with all stakeholders in the sensitization on the issues of carbon markets, so that our citizens, including members of this august House and traditional leaders and the church, appreciate how carbon markets operate. Today, if you talk about carbon markets, people are saying, what is he talking about? So, this government is working to make sure that we can all understand how these markets operate, and your government has now temporarily ceased signing any agreements around carbon markets because we don't want to sign wrong agreements and lock ourselves in. So, the three critical issues. One, what is the market? What's the carbon market? What is a ton of carbon, Madam Speaker? We all need to have a general understanding. Number two, what is the pricing? What is the correct pricing of a ton of carbon? So we don't leave money on the table. Number three, Madam Speaker, the redistribution of economic benefits or resources, all money simply arising from carbon trade. So your government is working very hard, cooperating with international organizations in these three elements. And we are happy that we are making progress in that space. I want to emphasize, Madam Speaker, the communities that protect their carbon assets must be the ones benefiting more, so that we can move them away from the negative vices by giving them alternative options: beekeeping, small mining, big mining, legally, correctly. We can move them into activities where funds arising from carbon market trade are directed in their way. That's the message here. Madam Speaker, good agricultural practices play a pivotal role in achieving sustainable development. To this effect, government, in collaboration with our development partners, has been promoting climate-smart agriculture. We are pleased that so far 147,412 small-scale farmers countrywide are using climate-smart agriculture technologies. We need to accelerate the adoption of these technologies to mitigate the impact of climate change. Madam Speaker, as already mentioned, to reduce dependence on rain-fed agriculture, we are aggressively promoting the development of irrigation schemes for our farmers. Micro, small, medium, large, all together, in order for them to produce throughout the year. Last year, Madam Speaker, I attended in Nyimba what we called launch of the planting season. And at that function in Nyimba of Eastern Province, I said, this is the last time I'm doing this, because there's nothing called a planting season. We should be planting every month. We should be harvesting every month. So that activity is now redundant. It's monthly, harvest, planting. That's where we should be going. Madam Speaker, we have continued to construct water harvesting facilities, dams, weirs, surface water, underground water. Water mapping is where now some of the money in the budget reallocation will go. So we know where the water resources sit. We don't sink boreholes anywhere, anyhow. We sink boreholes where we know the water is there. So we are not wasteful. So we save money, but we should be able to irrigate as well. Madam Speaker, this is in line with our declaration of the current drought due to El Nino as a national disaster and national emergency. And following this declaration, as I said, the 2024 national budget is being reviewed to move resources, Madam Speaker, away from consumption expenditure, habits, bad habits, workshops, perpetual workshops, to meet to talk about the next meeting. No. 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 Money will be moved away from those areas, which you, the parliamentarians, had already approved. We are now asking you to revisit that and move money to areas such as water harvest, feeding our people, to start with, Madam Speaker. Priority is to feed our people. And then to move into sustainable irrigation-based agriculture with higher productivity levels. That's the core, and we do believe this House will support this budget realignment days ahead from today. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, in the past 1 year, we continue to make notable progress in the application of our national values and principles. We have been steadfast in the fight against corruption, in the fight against alcohol and substance abuse, in the fight against early marriages, in the fight against gender-based violence. We will continue to institute crime mitigation measures, including, Madam Speaker, gun control. Gun control. We are seeing too much use of guns, excessive use of guns. And the minister responsible has been directed to put controls around there. I guess he has already made a statement on the floor of this House. And it will be accelerated and implemented. I would rather buy a plow than a gun. Our efforts to promote morality and human dignity, to provide adequate sanitation, Madam Speaker, to uphold good governance, as well as to ensure sustainable social economic development, anchored on hard work, Madam Speaker, hard work, and not laziness, not queuing for handouts, but working for something. In return, you can have what you want. This culture must shift, and shift quickly. It slows down our economic reconstruction agenda. You see it every day. I see it every day. It became something abnormal to talk about hard work because the normalcy was laziness and the returns, handsome returns out of laziness. How can that be? How can a nation develop on that basis? So, Madam Speaker, I ask this House that we walk together this path of promoting hard work and kicking out laziness from our societies across the country. Accountability, of course. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. I want to say, Madam Speaker, when we do what we are saying, we will reap dividends. No question about it. Muzakolola zomwe munabyala. I simply mean we will reap what we plant, what we sow. That is our message here. Let's sow correctly, we will reap positive results. We admit, Madam Speaker, that more needs to be done. Whatever we have said today here, more needs to be done. We understand, we acknowledge that, and we need the support of others, including our colleagues from different political parties, religious, organizations, global community. Madam Speaker, our national values and principles are critical to national development. As citizens, we have an urgent and compelling duty to fulfill our national values and principles, which should never be sacrificed for anyone and for any reason. For anyone and for any reason. Every one of us, every stand we take for morality and ethics, every act of patriotism, every step towards unity, every activity aimed at strengthening the fabric of our nation, national nation, in line with our motto of one Zambia, one nation, we see it as an opportunity. Absolutely. One Zambia, one nation, one people. We see this as an opportunity. We understand our democracy, constitutional democracy. Leaders will come and go. Leaders will come and go. But all leaders must work for the people of Zambia at any time. So, as a nation, and in line with our motto of one Zambia, one nation, one people, every opportunity we see, we must use it to promote human dignity and social justice. Every stand must be for good and integrity. Every effort to uphold democracy and constitutionalism assures our nation of the future we aspire to have, for us and for our genetic material to come after us. A nation in which we as the Zambian family can raise capable, responsible, decent and successful children and citizens. Madam Speaker, as our country turns 60 on the 24th of October this year, let us all strive to be the best we can be now and into the future. Let us commit to always doing good, to do good for this great nation. To always be good to each other within our democratic dispensation. We must work to do good to each other within our competitive democratic, constitutional democratic dispensation. We can achieve both. These are not contradictions. Let us always stand for and live by our national values and principles. Indeed, let us elect to walk this path as one Zambia, one nation, one people, under one God. Under one God. Madam Speaker, may the Almighty God bless us all. May the Almighty God bless our motherland, Zambia. Madam Speaker, I thank you and I beg to move.
We can resume our business. Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that at its rising today, the House do adjourn until Tuesday, 19th March 2024.
Order. The question is that at its rising today, the House do adjourn until Tuesday, 19th March 2024. Any debate? Yes. Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam, on behalf of the House, and indeed on my own behalf, I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for the speech that he has just delivered on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. Madam Speaker, I have no doubt, and the House will agree with me, that the President has raised a number of important issues that require serious and careful analysis by all of us. Consequently, I am of the view that the House should rise now so that honorable members have ample time to study and analyze the speech and reflect on the important issues that His Excellency the President has raised. This will enable honorable members to make informed contributions during the debate on the motion of thanks to the President's address starting on Tuesday, 19th March 2024. Madam, this is a procedural motion, and I request all honorable members to support it. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you. The question is that at its rising today, the House do adjourn until Tuesday, 19th March 2024. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. What a wonderful speech by His Excellency. Madam Speaker, allow me to put on record my sincere gratitude for the opportunity accorded to me on the motion moved by Her Honor the Vice President on the occasion of the special address to Parliament by His Excellency the President of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. Madam Speaker, I fully support the motion by Her Honor the Vice President that the House adjourns now to accord honorable members ample time to digest and critically analyze the speech so that when we come back to the House next week, we shall be fully prepared to debate with an informed mind on various issues contained in the speech. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. This is a procedural motion. I will therefore call upon Her Honor the Vice President to wind up debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am very grateful to all the honorable members of this House for the support to this motion. Thank you, Madam.
I put the question. The question is that at its rising today, the House do adjourn until Tuesday, 19th March 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Her Honor the Vice President, adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any objection? Any debate? The question is agreed to. The House? Is now adjourned.
Good morning. Live pictures are coming in way of the Parliament television. The House has since adjourned. Business will resume next week on Tuesday, the 19th of March 2024. We just saw the President addressing the nation on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. And so my colleague and I will just go through some of the main points from the presidential address percent.
Yes, Claudette, very important address that has been delivered in the House today by the Republican President, Ms. Hakainde Hichilema. Just a few points that we'd like to share with our viewers out there. The President did talk about the early marriages and teenage pregnancies. He did say that the government is working with the church, traditional leaders and other partners, and government in 2023 conducted sensitization programs countrywide to this end. 192 chiefdoms and over 2.5 million people were sensitized on the dangers of child marriages and teenage pregnancies.
And democracy and constitutionalism. The President did say that to provide access to ZNBC signal for Radio 1 and 2, 15 new FM transmitters have been installed in some rural districts of eastern, northern, western, southern, Wapula and Ichinga provinces.
And on sustainable development, the President did talk about that government in an effort to plant 2 million trees by 2028. This has gained momentum, and so far, according to the President's report to the House, did say that 645,000 trees have been planted on 538 hectares of land, and he called on members of Parliament, traditional leaders, churches and other stakeholders to join in sensitizing the local people there, and also to protect the livestock and wildlife.
Under good governance and integrity, the President did say that government remains firmly committed to upholding the tenets of good governance and integrity, and government's resolve is underscored by the measures government has instituted in the fight against corruption and maladministration. He did say that government has also strengthened the legal framework on management of fortified assets through the issuance of statutory instrument number 13 of 2023, And to promote transparency and accountability in the management of public affairs, government enacted the Access to Information Act number 24 of 2023.
And Claudette, under human dignity, equity, social justice, equality and non-discrimination, the President did talk about his government having the responsibility to uphold the dignity of the citizens as well as their rights to social justice and equal treatment. And he did say that his government has undertaken efforts and thereby centered on uplifting the livelihood of all the Zambian people. In this regard, his government is providing clean water and aqua sanitation, quality education and health care, access to electricity, social protection and youth empowerment, as well as provision of maternal health services. He did say that these are key priority areas for this government. He further said that through his leadership and his flagship intention under the Enhanced Constituency Development Fund, which is CDF, government has seen quality and equity and social justice being restored. And they did say that many more of the children now have an opportunity to learn in a dignified environment, with several classroom blocks being constructed and locally produced desks being procured across the country.
So we must mention that the President's speech was anchored on the following values and principles as morality and ethics, patriotism and national unity, democracy and constitutionalism, human dignity, equity, social justice, equality and non-discrimination, good governance and integrity, and lastly, sustainable development.
Very insightful address, Claudette, that the President talked about, and I'm sure people that raise their expectations and share their expectations with us as Parliament Television and Parliament Radio, their expectations have been met, and we look forward to seeing how members of Parliament will debate this motion, the President's motion, coming next week on the 19th of March 2024.
Absolutely, and as per tradition, we always have reactions from invited guests and members of Parliament regarding the presidential speech. And so our colleague Pauline Monga is actually on standby within the Parliament buildings just to get reactions from members of Parliament and those that were invited to the presidential address. Do stay tuned right here on Parliament Television.
We have just been listening to the presidential address, and he was addressing the nation and the National Assembly he was addressing the nation and the Parliament on the progress made in the application of the national values and the principles, and this is in accordance with the Article 9(2) of the Constitution of Zambia. So each year we expect the President to come and address the nation and Parliament. So we have just been listening to the speech, and quite a number of issues were raised in the speech that the President was delivering to the nation. And right now I'm joined by a Member of Parliament from Mbabala who has his reactions to following the speech actually that the President has just delivered. And this is Honorable Joseph Munsanje, Member of Parliament for Mbabala. So let's hear his reaction to the presidential speech. Good morning, sir, and thank you very much for joining us.
Morning, thank you.
We have been listening to the presidential speech, and quite a number of issues have been touched, including good governance. We talked about climate change. He talked about patriotism, quite a number. So what is your reaction to the speech?
We are very, very thankful to His Excellency, President Hakainde Hichilema, for this once more inspiring speech that is able to bring about the progress that has been made over the years. From the time he took office to date, a number of changes that have happened in the area of morality and ethics, where we are seeing a lot of progress against gender-based violence, childhood marriages, and teenage pregnancies. A lot of action being done there. But more important for us as the people of Mbabala constituency, the issue of sustainable development, and which touches on climate change, where the President has talked about the issue of how to manage the drought situation in terms of harvesting the water. So we look forward to continued harvesting of the water, having more dams in Mbabala constituency, and other mechanisms that are going to reduce duty or remove duty on the irrigation equipment and the other solar equipment that is going to help our communities in Mbabala constituency to ensure that they can have water and they can continue to farm and do many other crops and the like. So the area of climate change and resilience is very, very important, and His Excellency has handled it very well. And I think added on what he mentioned during the Youth Day in Chipata, where he announced the removal of these duties on various irrigation and other equipment that is going to enhance productivity and ensure that we have got food security. Indeed, with these measures, our people have water and nobody will go hungry.
I know that you come from a farming community, so definitely the issue of climate change has really affected your constituency. So when it comes to livestock and people, talking about water, what exactly do you plan to do for them?
Yes, we need to make a number of weir dams in the constituency to ensure that we've got water for our animals. So weir dams are very important. We need to have more boreholes, so we are buying a drilling rig so that we can have more water. So where we have water we are putting water schemes. Where we have water for human beings, we also put a trough so that we have water for animals or for livestock. So we're going to have those in a number of community areas, and also ensuring that even the grass, there should be some limitation, and we're encouraging farmers now to harvest the maize that has failed and store it properly so that we can reuse it to feed the animals during the bad season of August, September, before the rains come in October.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, and all the best to the nation.
Thank you. And that was Honorable Joseph Musanja, Member of Parliament for Mbabala, reacting to the presidential speech that has just been delivered on the floor of the House by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. And I'll continue getting reactions from members of Parliament and other invited guests who were part of this occasion. And just now I'm joined by Mapatizia Member of Parliament, Imelda Munashabantu, who actually is going to tell us her reaction and following the presidential address. Good morning and welcome to this special interview. Yes, we have just been listening to the President actually as he addressed the nation and the House on the values and the principles of that have been made in the past 1 year. What is your reaction to some of the issues that he has talked about? We are talking about climate change, we are talking about democracy, we are talking about human rights, we are talking about quite a number of issues. What is your reaction, especially you coming from a place which is drought prone, like Mapatizia?
Well, the President has talked about a lot of pertinent issues. Just to mention but a few, he has spoken about the social ills of society, the alcohol abuse and the cyber abuse of social media and many more. And he mentions how government has helped, especially through the counseling. Alcohol abuse is rampant, especially in rural constituencies like mine. People are making these homemade beers using all sorts of ingredients. And right now, people are getting help through counseling, all the effort being made by government. And we are seeing a lot of change, especially in rural areas where we don't have a lot of facilities to do that. Talking about the drought, of course, and climate change. Yeah, government has already stepped in, and the President this morning highlighted how it has, through the redirection of resources to the most important areas, like targeting water harvesting, which is very important. Water harvesting, that will be building dams, water harvesting, building reservoirs, to help with irrigation, to help with animals, more so in Mapatiza. We are looking forward to these dams, and 3 of them were already allocated via CDF, even from central government. We have also received a number of them, and government is doing its best. And when the president is talking about it, it's not that he's just talking. These are things happening in our constituencies. The water harvesting we are seeing, the redirection of resources to more important issues. Yeah, he also spoke about the rule of law. We have seen a number of, in the past, a number of cases in court dragging. And today, the president has highlighted and has directed those responsible to make sure that the cases are judged on time. Actually, he categorically said if a case is going to court at 14 hours, at 10 hours, by 14 hours, the judgment should be done. And that is really very important, because we have seen a lot of people being judged by time. They say justice denied, it's justice delayed, it's justice denied. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we look forward to listening to the speech on Tuesday.
Oh yes.
Yes, as members continue reacting to the
we'll
president's speech.
In the House.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was Mapatizia Member of Parliament Imelda Munashabantu giving her reaction to the presidential speech. We continue receiving reactions from members of Parliament following the presidential address. And right now I'm joined by Mishek Nyambose, Member of Parliament for Chasefu constituency in the Eastern Province. Sir, thank you very much for joining us on this special interview.
I'm really grateful and humbled.
Thank you so much. We have just been listening to the presidential address. What is your reaction to the issues that have been raised in the speech?
What a speech. A uniting speech. A visionary speech. One thing that caught my attention was the emphasis and the pronouncement by the president, meaning that he has a vision to develop this country. The issue of CDF. The president has said that he will continue increasing CDF, whatever it takes, meaning that he means to develop this country equitably. It is happening for the first time in this country during this New Dawn administration that we are getting CDF. Now we are getting 30.6 million. All the constituencies in this country, we are buying desks for our children who have been sitting on the floor. We are building classroom blocks. We are doing a lot, buying road making equipment. So this is happening, and the president means development to this country. So it's a wonderful speech, and he has talked about peace and unity and love. The other issue that caught my attention was the issue where he used the Nyanja language to say Uzakorola Vamene Wabiala. When you interpret this, it means a lot. I'm talking about corruption. I've just been elected as the Vice President for African Parliamentary Network Against Corruption, APNAC. And when the President talks about corruption, he has also emphasized the need for the due process of investigations. That everyone has the right, but if you indulge in corruption, your destiny is the jails. Corruption takes away resources for development, and he has been very steadfast. And I stand with the president on the fight against corruption, so that we can have these resources that are obtained by people dubiously to take to development. So the president says, you indulge in corruption, the jail. You indulge in productivity and honesty, it is development. The same language, the same adage can be interpreted that we invest in agriculture. We invest in productivity, this country can develop. So it is a very loaded statement. We need to interpret it and take heed to what the president has said. But as a vice president of APNAC, I will stand with him, together with my members of parliament, and appealing to all members of parliament to ensure that corruption is rooted in this country. People should be living in a honest manner. Corruption before, corruption now, and corruption in the future. So I'm very happy that the president is steadfast to ensure that we root out corruption in this country. I'm very happy that come Tuesday, we should be able to interrogate the speech and speak to this nation, influence the nation so that this country can develop.
Thank you very much.
I'm humbled.
Thank
I'm
you.
really grateful to be here.
We look forward to listening to your speech, sir.
Yes, check the space.
Thank you, sir.
I'm humbled.
That was Honorable Mishek Nyambosa, Member of Parliament for Chasefu, actually reacting to the presidential speech on the progress made in the application of national values and the principles. And just now I'm joined by Mr. Taulo Chewe, Member of Parliament for Luvansenshi, as we continue listening to the reactions of the members of Parliament following the presidential address. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And thank you very much.
Thank you, indeed.
Yes, so we have been listening to the presidential speech on the application of national values and the principles. So what is your reaction to the speech? Of course, quite a number of issues were raised in the speech. So I'd like to hear your reaction as Member of Parliament, a representative of people of Luvansenshi.
Indeed, thank you so much. Indeed, the President talked about a good number of things, but I would like to first and foremost appreciate the people of Luvansenshi constituency for the confidence that they showed in me to represent them here at Parliament. And I would like to take this opportunity also to quickly indicate some of the key things that I picked. The President talked about accessing mine licenses, which we should take advantage as local people, especially in Luvansenshi constituency, where we know that there are some minerals that we can take advantage and utilize so that we can able to benefit our people. So as the head of Member of Parliament, we have started this journey of establishing a mining in Luvansenshi constituency. So we'll continue with that, because when we establish a mine company in Luvansenshi constituency, we are very much confident that a good number of youth, women, young girls, young boys will have some jobs. And so far we have done about 50% in terms of achieving that, because we are anticipating that by June this year, we are likely to start the exploration exercise within Luvansenshi constituency, Luwingu district. Then the other issue that the President talked about is the issue of harvest of water. If you look at Luvansenshi constituency, we are privileged that we have some rivers that we need to take advantage of, such as Lukutu River, such as Lumpumono River. These rivers, we can able to use them through the cooperatives and the clubs that we have, as the President talked about, also CDF. Yes, there are issues to do with the grants. So those people who are getting this grant from CDF aspect, we are encouraging them to ensure that once they get this money, they venture into productive program that can able to sustain their lives. So what the President has reminded us Zambians, especially the people of Luvansenshi constituents, is to see what opportunities are there within our areas, within our constituencies, within our country. Because when the President speaks, for me it's a policy, and each and everyone have to make sure that you adhere to that. It's up to an individual, it's up to an individual member of Parliament or particular constituency, what is it that we need to do in our constituency. So my message to the people of Luvansenshi constituency is that I'm there for you to make sure that we put our heads together and see which program can we really prioritize, and at the end of the day can able to give us better life. So we are together, the people of Luvansenshi.
Thank you so much, sir.
Indeed,
Thank
I'm
you.
grateful.
That was the Member of Parliament for Luvansenshi, Mr. Chewe Taulo, reacting to the presidential speech on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. Of course, we continue receiving reactions to the presidential address. And just now, I'm joined by Posent Ndovi. And thank you so much and welcome, Posent.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Pauline. It's me actually who should be welcoming you.
It's me because you found me here.
Very interesting day it has been, and the nation was looking forward to the presidential address, of which the President has delivered, and it's up to now the members of Parliament to debate come next week on the 19th of March 2023. But again, it's good to hear some quick reactions from members of Parliament as we continue interacting with them. So at this particular time, I will be joined by that's Solwezi East Member of Parliament, and this is Mr. Alex Katakwe, just to interact and just to get a quick reaction from him and find out what he makes of today's address. Thank you so much, Honorable, for finding time to be with us. I know very interesting points were raised by the Republican president, and one point that I would want to pick from is the issue to do with CDF. We've seen that CDF has been increased. It's now at 30.6 million, and the president did talk about people that are getting grants to be able to repay so that many people can benefit. What's your take on that? Because recently, we've seen you on TV, members of Parliamentary Broadcasting Department were in your constituencies to tour some projects that you are undertaking using CDF.
Thank you very much. Coming from a rural constituency that was neglected for a long time in terms of amenities, in terms of development, it is actually quite amazing, and to see that the president in his speech to Parliament actually alluded to the fact that CDF has been increased. And for us coming from the rural areas, even to hear the promise that every year this is going to be increased, and the fact that there is decentralization and devolution of many functions of ministries, it is actually gratifying. For us, we indeed appreciate this speech, because from nothing, from just being a rural area, to seeing development that so far has taken place, it is actually overwhelming to the people of my constituency, because CDF has changed lives in terms of empowerment, women empowerment, youth empowerment, skills development, children who are neglected and just there in the village, not getting pregnant and forgetting about school, they have returned to school. We have built boarding facilities that has enhanced children coming actually to attend the much needed education. So this actually is something that is there for everyone to see, and everyone is actually happy about this new Dawn government being led by the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. So as Moshindamo District, Solwezi East constituency, it is actually a flamboyant aspect actually to be there and partake of this development through the CDF.
Thank you so much. I know you need ample time, but I saw you taking notes when the president was delivering his speech. But wishing you all the best and looking forward to hearing your debate on Tuesday.
Thank you very much, and we'll be there actually to articulate more issues, especially when it comes to the issues that the president talked about, patriotism and the unity. That is fantastic to me.
All right, that's Solwezi East Member of Parliament. That's Mr. Alex Katakwe, just adding his voice regarding what the President talked about. I hope you also have your own views regarding what the President talked about. You can better still also let us know on our Facebook page, which is the National Assembly of Zambia. Joining me at this particular time is Chairman North Member of Parliament, and this is Mr. Yotam Mutachalo. Honorable, thank you so much for according us this opportunity. You've been on the floor of the House raising questions regarding animal-human conflict, where you're coming from. And today we heard the President talking about issues to do with water. And these are some of activities that lead to animals leaving their habitat areas to come to where human beings are staying at this particular time. So how do you make of the issue of making boreholes in your constituency to lessen on the impact of the drought spells that the country has experienced?
Thank you very much. The President actually touched on a number of issues, but I think due to limitation of time, I'll just dwell on specific areas. Indeed, I represent a constituency which is a rural constituency, Chama North, and my constituency is actually affected by many animal conflict. So indeed, we have seen animals migrating from the game areas coming into villages, trying to compete with people in terms of water and food. So indeed, I think much needs to be done, especially drilling boreholes and ensuring that our people engage in sustainable forms of agriculture. Because we need the wildlife for our own for wildlife to promote investment and also fight poverty. I think the other area the President tackled was the issue of the CDF. Yeah, we do appreciate that the increase of CDF from 1.6 into 30-point-something million kwacha. And the President's collectively stated that government is equally giving CDF equally. But I still believe that I think we need equity. He mentioned about equity, which will be done in the process. But I think equity must be considered as quickly as possible, because I am alive to the fact that the rural areas have received so lopsided development for a long time. So we need a lot of money in terms of infrastructure for the rural constituencies. So I believe that the government will move very quickly to ensure that more money is allocated to rural areas in terms of infrastructure.
All right.
I think maybe lastly, I want to talk about the issue of fight against corruption. Yes, we support the fight against corruption. The President spoke about the issues of asset recovery. I think I still strongly believe that the forfeiture of proceeds of crime, this particular law may be abused by law enforcement agencies, and it may hurt entrepreneurship in this country. We have seen that a lot of foreigners have mass wealth, they have assets, but they are not followed. But debt is only following Zambian. So I believe that I think we need to amend this law so that we put the burden of proof on the government to prove that this person has been found wanting. Otherwise, I think it's going to affect entrepreneurship in this country.
I'm sure the people of Chamanorth are looking forward to hearing to your debate come next week on Tuesday, and the 2 weeks allocation to members of parliament to debate the presidential address. Wishing you all the best, and regards to the people of Chamanorth.
Thank you very much. We shall actually interrogate the speech so that we are able to debate from a well-known point of view.
That's Chama North Member of Parliament, Mr. Yotam Mutachalo. And joining me on set at this particular time is Kanchiwia Member of Parliament, and this is Mr. Sunday Chanda. Just also to get a quick reaction regarding the presidential address today. Mr. Chanda, thank you so much. And how is Kanchiwia doing, and how is Kanchiwia responding to what the President talked about? Maybe looking at, you have a good rainfall pattern in Kanchiwia, and the President talked about deforestation and the issue of planting trees. How are you receiving that message?
Thank you so much, Apostle. I think, firstly, to congratulate the President for, I think, a well-delivered message to the nation. It's very important that from time to time, the nation engages in some self-introspection to gauge how we are doing in line with the national values and principles we have set for ourselves in our Republican Constitution. This is a conversation benchmarks, whose benchmarks we may not always agree upon, but it's a conversation we ought to have on a continuous basis, on an ongoing basis. So congratulations to the head of state for a well-delivered message to the nation. Secondly, Kanchiwia constituency, as you know, is blessed with a good rainfall pattern. We sit along the rain belt. So messages around afforestation, reforestation, messages around irrigation, for example, messages around removing duty of irrigation equipment and agricultural equipment, supporting the agricultural sector become very important because in the absence of food security, you'd find that our national values and principles come under threat. Over and beyond, it's important for us to also underscore that key of those messages for us was the buy local, you know, and promoting opportunities for our young people, you know, both the male and the female. As we speak, we have spread out desks to, I think, about 99 schools in Kanchiwia constituency. No child is sitting on the floor, except in those community schools without proper roofing, and the ones with earmarks to work on, you know, in under 2024. So this message becomes important for us, and we look forward to debating the presidential speech in the days that lie ahead.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chandan. Wishing you all the best and regards to the people of Kanchiwia.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's Kanchiwia Member of Parliament, Mr. Sunday Chanda, just adding his voice regarding the presidential address which we witnessed, and the President was here earlier in the day, and we continue interacting with different stakeholders here at Parliament buildings. And joining me is Mr. Mijelo Sinzombwe, who is President, National Council for Student Unions. Thank you so much, Mr. Mijelo. How do you make of today's address, looking at what the president talked about as a student union?
Well, I think today's address reaffirms the confidence that this government has with regards to the welfare of the student. And the president did re-echo that his government will continue to increase funding to education, especially higher education. As you may wish to know, we now have an increase in the number of beneficiaries of student loan schemes, as well as TVET facilities for the past 1 year, and we can only hope that gets better.
How do you make of the component in the CDF where there's skills training, and we've seen quite a number of young people accessing funds, and quite a number of members of parliament have been going back to their constituencies to witness graduation ceremony for young people, and these are young people that are in various training skill centers across the country.
These are life-changing transformations, because these are colleagues we live within the communities. You may wish to know, it's not everybody who has the privilege of having to attain formal education. And if any of the young people has not had that opportunity, this government has provided a facility for them to undergo skills training development to help them be sustainable, to be able to take part in various activities, artisanal skills, and as you have said, skills development, bricklaying, catering, building, carpentry, and all that. They are really being reformatory to the population of the young people, especially that these are changes that we are witnessing right in the communities that we come from.
I'd like to say thank you so much for sharing your thoughts regarding what the president talked about today, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. We continue interacting with various stakeholders here at Parliament building, and just get their quick reactions regarding what the President talked about. And Pauline, very interesting views that we're getting from various stakeholders here. And it's also good to hear that we have a person who's a union representative from tertiary education, and just adding his voice regarding what the President talked about.
Exactly, President. The President touched a number of issues actually, and there were youth that were also actually in his speech that he talked about. He talked about abuse of substance. He talked about early child marriages. He talked about teen pregnancies. All these affect youths, and hence, it's very important actually to have the voice of the youth actually to react to the presidential speech. So we continue receiving reactions from different stakeholders, and just now I'm joined by Honorable Nicholas Mukumbi, Member of Parliament for Solwezi West, to hear his reaction to the presidential speech. Good morning, sir, and thank you very much for joining us. Yes, we have all been listening to the presidential speech, and what is your reaction?
Well, the president has spoken, and we have all listened. We believe that everyone in the country has listened to what the president has said. Number one, there's a concern, which concern we've also noticed in our constituencies, that of GBV. There's so much GBV cases, and they are on the increase because we are not living as one in our homes. The president has guided that we must show love, beginning from our homes. And when it starts from there, we move with it into our offices. So that is a plus to all of us, and we must adhere to such a directive. A home that is brought in unity is a better home for the future. So that we must address. The number of youths that are abusing alcohol is also on the increase. You can see it even in our own town of Osaka, where we are right now. You will see a lot of young men and girls smoking and drinking alcohol, long hours, which is not good for the growth of our economy. This can also be seen in rural areas where we are coming from. That problem is there. So we must address it, not only us as politicians, but the president has guided that traditional leaders must come on board. Councillors must come on board. The church must also come on board. Once we keep such vices, we are able to begin to see progress within our country. The president also guided that we must be able to produce for ourselves. We must not just rely on products that are coming from outside of Zambia. For instance, foodstuff. We are happy now to see some probably vegetables like cabbages, tomatoes, and all that, being grown by locals and being sold in chain shops or chain stores, which is a plus now. So we need to increase into food production ourselves so that we can generate some needed revenue for those farmers that are in gardening and also many other crops. We are happy that you were able to walk into ShopRite, for instance, and see packaged beef made in Zambia, proudly Zambian. That is a plus to all of us. Where we are coming from as well, due to increased CDF, we are now able to make desks from within our catchment areas. This is a plus because money is remaining local. That is very good for all of us. So we can only encourage those that are in that particular business, those that are producing desks, not to abuse those resources that they are getting, but expand on their businesses so that they can be able to produce more desks in mass production. Because schools will keep building schools, definitely as members of parliament, councillors, and any other maybe church organizations. There is that expansion. The population is growing. More people will need to come back into school. Where do they sit? They will sit on desks. So those that are in those particular ventures must begin to upscale their businesses so that they keep making desks for the future. The president has also guided us that we must love one another. Without love, we will never grow this economy. Yes, there's time for politics. We are coming from a different political divide. But should we continue attacking one another? The answer is no. We should come at a point where we say, we are all Zambians. So Zambia comes first. So as Zambia comes first, we begin to love one another, and then we begin to build our strong economy. Where we differ, in parliament for instance, or back in our constituencies, can we sit at the table and say, where have we gone wrong? And how can we, make amends so that we develop our country, Zambia? The president has said it all, and we must listen and begin to implement such measures for all of us. One other good thing is in the manufacturing or making of uniforms for the army, for the air force, for nurses. If this can be done locally, those huge sums of money we read about, like $15 million has been spent to procure uniforms outside Zambia, that money will remain in Zambia. It will create employment for our people. We used to have factories like Murungushi in Kabwe. They used to make those uniforms for the army. We had Sirius International, which is for the government in Rwanda. They used to make uniforms for the police and the others. Those particular industries provided employment for our people. And if that has to come back, I can assure you, we are going to have another 2,000, 3,000 people working in those ventures, which is a plus to all of us.
Thank you very much. That is the voice of Solwezi West, represented by Mr. Nicholas Mukumbi, reacting to the presidential speech on the progress made on the application of national values and their principles. So those were some of the reactions from the various stakeholders that were part of the people that witnessed the president as he addressed the nation and the House on the progress made on the application of national values and principles in the year 2024.
Very, very interesting, Pauline, and I look forward to seeing members of parliament debating come Tuesday. And sure, expectations have been met, and we did see quite a number of various stakeholders making known their expectation to the public earlier on before we started, or just when we started our broadcasting. And it's been interesting, and members are geared to debate come next week.
Yes, they all look forward to dissecting actually sector by sector what was in the presidential speech, and we look forward to listening to that. And all of you keep watching Parliament television for you to be updated and know what will be the reactions of the members of Parliament this coming week on Tuesday.
So I remember we'll have the rebroadcast of the presidential address later in the day on behalf of my colleague Claudette Jonga, Pauline Monga, and the entire production crew. My name is Posent Ndovi. We'll be with you on Tuesday with other live parliamentary proceedings, beginning with committees, and later on in the day we'll have live parliamentary proceedings. God bless, and thank you so much for your time, more especially you, our viewers, for finding time to be with us today. God bless, and continue watching Parliament Television.
Wengashia ndiye watushongosha pakubwa. Wengashia ndiye watushongosha pakubwa. Wengashia ndiye